Hello and welcome to another episode of First Blood. I'm Richard Lewis, your host. And with me this week, we still have no Nintendo X. He's still playing with Fusion for whatever reason. Maybe he wants to get into LCS or something. So we've replaced him with the stand-in that we like to use for him. It is, of course, Kubz. He's returned. And with me, as always, as well, is Ram at Brokenshard Jamal, who's looking a bit gangster because he's moved to Amsterdam temporarily. So, hello to both you guys.
Hey, man, what's up?
There we go. And now I'll introduce the guest, the real deal. Someone I've been wanting to get on the show for a long, long time. Someone I've been a big fan of. He even made a video responding to one of my articles once, disagreeing with me, which was a high point in my career, actually.
Oh.
It is Elementz, current coach for Team Coast. So how are you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Can't complain right now. Things are going good.
Okay, well, this is where I get to grill you. It's the opening section of the show, so we always interview the guest a little bit before we get into our topics. So, first question. Obviously, you were one of, super vocal person, always making videos and commenting on stuff that was going on in the scene. Some people did used to say you were a whiner. I always thought that was harsh. I thought, you did bring some attention to some important stuff. And then since you transitioned into this coaching role, I haven't seen a lot of you. Maybe I'm missing it, but it seems to be you've taken kind of a step out of the spotlight and, you're just concentrating on, the task at hand. So how's that adaptive process been for you?
Yeah, when I first started coaching Coast the first time, after I was done with Curse, I didn't want anything to do with the scene. Honestly, I was so burnt out from playing League of Legends and reading all the Reddit comments and all that stuff. It just got a little overwhelming, and I went down in San Francisco and just moved with my girlfriend at that point in time, and it was just relaxing. Then Coast offered me a position as coach, so I went and joined them. And again, I think you said it best. I was just focusing on the task at hand. I was trying my best to help those guys out, get them on a good schedule, make sure they're eating healthy, working out, practicing, all that kind of stuff. There was no time to stream and make videos at that point in time. After that, though, after I was done with Coast, I started making a couple more videos on my own time, on my own little personal YouTube channel. I started streaming. That's when I started AoE, tried my little Challenger series for, about a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started making a little bit more videos in that time. But again, I was trying really hard to make the expansion tournaments, get into LCS again. So again, I wasn't making too much content at that point in time.
What was it like? I mean, because I know kind of recently, recently, when I say recently, it probably is maybe getting on for close to a year, so not too far. But I know you still maybe were looking at playing and competing. So have you kind of accepted? You've drawn a line under it that there's no going to be great comeback for Elementz, or is there still a possibility?
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to do last year, and I figured I'd give another year another good shot, and I was feeling pretty confident in my abilities playing versus other top challenger teams when I was scrimming with my team AoE, and we were doing good. I just couldn't get 5 out of 5 members who were dedicated, committed. People were going on vacation right before we played in tournaments. Whole plethora of excuses I could say for why we didn't get in, but we just didn't get in. It didn't happen. So Coast offered me another position on coaching again, so I accepted that. And for right now, I'm going to focus on that. If the new season comes out and all the champions I main I'm amazing at or something like that, and I start climbing again, then yeah, sure, maybe. But that's not really on my radar right now. No, I think I'm just going to stick to coaching and hopefully get back to just making content. I actually got oh, sorry.
No, go on. I was going to jump in, but
I was going to say, speaking of content, I've actually been working on a website I'm going to come out with hopefully in the next couple of weeks, so I can start banging out content again.
Awesome. Well, what do you think makes you a good coach? I got to ask because I see so many ex-players, transitioning into these coaching roles. I think some of them have, dubious claims to their coaching ability. Definitely. I'm not talking about Ram here. He's great, but there's some that I've seen that I think, really, coach, you're milking this a little bit. Whereas I've always thought about you. I actually can see why you would be a good coach. just based on your personality and that sort of thing. But what about the sort of more, skills, the actual skill set that you bring to the table as a coach? What would you say your strengths are?
Well, when I played on CLG and Curse, I always felt I was a pretty good secondary shot caller, very observant around the map, and I think what I can offer the guys at Coast is a great, outsider's opinion. Like this is one way to do something, but I try to get them to think about what they could do in another situation, to rethink themselves, not always rush into situations, and that's what I try to do with most of my game reviews with them, is just try to get them to think on their own, because despite the coaches being able to be in, like champions like that, I can't hold their hand in the game. I can't be like shouting, go do this, go this. So basically my strategy is to get them to think for themselves, get them to always be, trying to teach themselves how they can get better, because at the end of the day, I can't be there telling them what to do, like, other sports with coaches like that.
So just final question. Let's talk a little bit about Coast. I mean, they're a hugely ambitious organization. I know, they've been criticized in the past for some decisions they've made and some rosters that they've put together. They've looked amazing in the expansion tournament. I've said it every week since the expansion tournament started. The recurring quote is, these guys are not fucking around. They're deadly serious. But I mean, what's it been like for you working, with the org, with the players, that sort of thing?
Well, from the first time around to now, I think it was just pretty much everyone's new experience. Like the original Coast team, like, I'd say 4 out of 5 of those guys, that was the first time ever living, outside of, home. It was a whole new experience, living with people, clashing personalities. And I just don't think it was the best mix of players first time around. But I think this time around with these guys, they're all super committed. They all have the same drive to win. They all just want to get better. And that's truly, I think, the thing that was separating this team from the last team, is that all these guys are trying to get better. Well, the other team, they just we're already in LCS. They're like, yeah, we're in, they might have came in a little too cocky, but these guys have the drive because they want to be it. They want to be the shit. They want to be the best. And it's just a lot easier to work with people who just, genuinely want to improve themselves.
And just finally, I always ask a guest an asshole question just to set the tone. And then like just in case people think we're bonding and we're getting along too well, I like to have an undercurrent of tension on everything I do. So the asshole question is, I remember a video you made kind of relating to LMQ when they were coming over to the NA scene, and you were a little bit kind of adverse, I would say, to it. You kind of felt that you wanted the regions to be more about local talent. And obviously Team Coast have picked up some foreign imports, from Europe. So I just wondered if there was, if that was, maybe you changed your mind about the
I'm so conflicted.
Talent. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, so there's the asshole question. It's out the way. We're all good now.
You know what? The 3/5 rule is in, and Coast is abiding by it, and that's really all I wanted. I just didn't want to see full rosters of foreign players coming over. And you know what? I'm fine if you pick up a player here, pick up a player there. I don't really care where you're from. It's just North America should at least, every region, I'm not going to say North America, every region should try to stay true to its roots, because as I said in my video, like, if you go on a world stage and North America has 5 Korean teams, a Chinese team, and a European team, and they only have 1 North American team, it's like, well, is it really worlds at this point, or is it just teams? And that was like kind of my whole, point in that video, is just like, why even have worlds if you're just going to let everyone go everywhere? Then it doesn't really make sense. So with that being said, Coast is 3/5. They got it, and I'm okay with that. The guys are nice, and I got no problem with, as I said, anybody, anywhere. Just wanted those 3/5, and it happened. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Impaler will fit in anyway, because we all know he's from the ghetto. He's from the hood. In England, so he'll be fine. He'll fit right in. Right, okay. So you're off the hook now, Cody. We're not going to grill you anymore, and instead we're going to throw open the floor and we're going to do some just general topics. I think where we'll start is we'll talk about probably the biggest bit of news, which shows how League of Legends kind of is focused actually as a game. But it's Deman and Joe Miller leaving the LCS broadcasts. They're both going to transition into ESL roles. Shox is going to go the other way and leave ESL and join Riot full time. So I was talking about this on my phone-in show the other day, Trash Talk, and I said that Riot have made a bit of a rod for their back with this, because there isn't a lot of tournaments for other casting talent to practice and hone their skills. So they've got really big shoes to fill in the form of Deman and Joe Miller, and actually not a lot of talent out there that could even come close. So what do you guys think about this? Is this going to impact on the EU broadcasts next season?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it, Broken.
Absolutely. I think the overall casting talent for the first split, definitely the first split is going to be a lot lower than we are more used to with Deman and Joe, because a lot of people kind of like to jump on the circle jerk and say that, oh, these casters are shit, and like you see it all the time on Twitch chat. But there are a lot of decent casters, but I don't think it's that far to say that Deman and Joe were about. If we were talking about professional esports casters, Deman and Joe Miller would probably be up there on the top 5 of the list. They were a huge asset, I guess, to Riot for their casting ability, and breeding new talent, especially in shoutcasting. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but only if there's veteran people there. And I'm concerned that Deficio and Quickshot aren't going to be good enough veteran talent to groom new and upcoming shoutcasters. Because like off the top of my head, if I would think of replacements, I would say, I guess, Panky is a pretty good shoutcaster. He did it in the past. He's good. He stopped for some reason, but I think if he came back, he'd be okay. Stress is also decent. Like I wouldn't be upset if Stress went on to become a shoutcaster, but those are just examples for EU shoutcasters.
I mean, just to inject a little bit of information into the debate, I've been reliably informed that those people that are kind of associated with the broadcasts at the moment that have been doing expansion and other such things, I think they've been told, actually these LCS slots next season are wide open. No one's guaranteed. Everyone's going to have to audition, and it's a clean slate.
I think like it's kind of a shitty situation to be in if you're the guys who are going to end up coming in, right? Because you're effectively going to have to replace the two most popular casters.
Yep.
From the European side and pretty much in the LCS, maybe Riv's in the same category of popularity. But the point being, like, there isn't really a caster that comes to mind which is going to come in and everyone's going to be like, he's really, really good. They're all going to be like, he's not the same as D-Man. He's not the same as Joe Miller. And they're going to have a really rough time. But I feel like if they're able to get some good talent, like look at Zyrene, for example, in NA. Like Zyrene was someone no one really knew about. He came in, he casted the first split, a challenger. By the end, he was on the LCS analyst desk and he casted, some of those games. So I think if they can find people like Panky, Pastry Time, God knows what happened to him. But I mean, if they can bring him over,
what
Jason
actually
Kaplan
did happen
even,
to him?
Like
he was only around for a couple of games.
Because everyone was raving about Pastry. I mean, Ram raves about Pastry all the time, but in particular, everyone was raving about Pastry Time as if he was going to be the second coming.
Yeah, he had visa problems initially, and then it just kind of there was never an update. So that's kind of where we're left. Is there's been this visa issue with him, but they have like even Jason Kaplan could come back. Like it's going to be tough for whoever comes back into this situation. But I mean, at the end of the day, whoever they do bring in, it's on Riot to kind of groom them into the best they can as casters, and hopefully they do a good job.
And what about Wombat as well? I mean, there's somebody. I mean, I know.
I thought he said he was never going to do that.
Yeah,
I thought he said he was going to stick strictly to like casting, like go for laws and stuff like that, or smaller tournaments.
I heard that Riot didn't exactly want Wombat because they didn't think that he could be a professional caster. And I think like a big part of Wombat is kind of like his goofy nature. Like the way that he casts, doesn't seem very serious at all. He kind of cracks jokes. It's sort of casual. And maybe that's not what Riot's looking for the LCS.
Yeah,
Don't tell free.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I actually disagree. I think there's they try and inject this PG-13 goofiness into all the broadcasts, which is why during the expansion tournament we've actually seen some pretty awful jokes. Like if it was a fucking stand-up in a comedy club, you would have no qualms about heckling them off stage. Some of the absolute awful gags that have been going on. And I think that's kind of like that's the LCS brand in a way. You've got to have this kind of banter And that tone was set very much by Joe and Deman, and I think people try and fit into that mold. Wombat would be great at it, actually. You know, I've always been a big fan of him. I tried to make a show with him. My first stab at doing a League of Legends show, actually, we tapped up Wombat to ask if he'd do it, and he was committed to the project.
I think the worst part about everything about them leaving is like when you think about the EULCS, I honestly feel like those two are a reason people watched, was just to hear them cast. I feel like some of that viewer base was based off of that. Maybe not a lot, but there are going to be people who just aren't going to tune into Europe because it's been stagnant, boring, or whatever to them for the last year or two. So I think Europe might just lose viewers based on the fact those casters aren't there anymore. So that could hurt.
DAE Europe resident sleeper or something. No, I definitely think that might be an issue because generally, it's just kind of expected if you don't have good casters, then you won't have a good show. It's my biggest fear, I think, is that we're gonna get some good casters, or I guess maybe not as amazing as Deman and Joe, but people who could potentially be really good at it, like say Panky or Stress, and no one's gonna give them a good shot to prove themselves as good casters, and just straight up not watch them, and just more so just complain about the fact that we don't have Deman and Joe. Because if you're talking about that, the people that were doing expansion, could be potentially in the UELCS. I think, excuse me, I think minus one particular moment in the Giants Millenium game where the casters literally like mumbled for the entire fight. It's like, and it doesn't matter. Like, I think besides that, the casting that came out from the EU stream, like when we were actually able to watch, was pretty good. The casters were fine. And if those guys do end up being in the ULCS, I don't think I'd have a problem with them casting, especially if they get the time to learn. But I think we all know that the community is very black and white. It's like, we had the best. We're not going to give something that could be great a chance at all.
Yeah, I got to say as well, I like the fact you've developed a smoker's cough when you've only been staying in Amsterdam for like a week. I wonder what you've been up to,
though.
I've been sick. I've been sick. Yeah, and we're not even in Amsterdam. We're in Rotterdam. That's 40 minutes away.
You know, it's
well, you know how
you can still get it there. Yeah, exactly. So, Cody, I want to bring you in, dude. And this is why, because obviously one of the solutions I think Riot are going to be looking at is probably Crepo. I think he was originally being groomed for an analyst role. Now that he's not been able to, the Alliance thing didn't work out for him. We all know he was, trying with those, and they've decided to give Nif another go for whatever reason. And then there was talk about Crepo joining Super Hot Crew, which I think that would have been. I would have loved to have seen that, actually. I think that would have been great. But it doesn't look like that's working out now. And I think, it's a safe bet he's going to probably enter into a, Riot position. With the absence of Joe and D-Man, is this somebody you think, because he's popular anyway, and I think he would get more leeway than anyone else would?
I think if he came in, he'd definitely be a good person to fill those shoes. In terms of casting, knowledge about the game. He's also like really well spoken, good looking guy. I mean, honestly, if they can get him in there, I think he's probably our best bet for, I guess, the savior of EU casting.
I mean, but
Deficio.
Yeah, him and Deficio. I mean, I don't really know how that would work.
He stepped up his game, though. Deficio was so-so when he started, but I think he's pretty good now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, do you think it's something we should see more of? Kind of maybe ex-pros transitioning into actual casting roles rather than just putting them on the analysis desk at big events?
Well, I mean, League is also still pretty new in like the grand scheme of things, and I think as the game progresses more and more and more, as years go on, there's going to be way more players that can fill those shoes and do those jobs. So I think in the future, I think a lot of players, because look at like basketball, football, that stuff. So many ex-professional players just go right into casting. It's like their next career step is right here. They're like, well, I can't play anymore, gonna cast. And I just think that's the way it's gonna go down in the future. Might not happen this year, not too many, but one, 2 more years, I think we'll see a lot more players do that.
I'm very sorry.
Have the hookers arrived, Ram? Like, what the fuck?
No, I'm in a house with a bunch of fucking kids. That's what I have. I mean, they're just sitting on the table, the kitchen table around me.
Went out on stream.
All just staring at you like he's on first blood.
No, they're just just fucking trolling me. They're running back and forth from one table to another. On the other table, they've got a laptop with the stream on, and they're here just fucking trolling me. I'm sorry for that.
Oh no, don't worry about it. It's good to see that the H2K guys are
getting
in,
along so
fine
well.
spirit.
To add on to the Deficio thing, just real fast, I don't think Deficio's problem was the things that he said. It's more the way that he said it. I don't think that his actual like analysis or talking about the game was always fine, but like the way that he articulated it wasn't always spot on.
English wasn't his first language, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like his English has definitely improved. I'd love to see him on the analyst desk. No. For real though, like his articulation did get a lot better over the split, and I'm really excited to see how well he can improve that even more in the next split. But I think you just give him some more time actually speaking English and just like learning how to articulate his thoughts better, he'd be a great caster. Because he's got the knowledge for sure, but yeah, go for it.
And Shocks joining Riot. I mean, do we have any particular thoughts about this? I think that was a move that was probably inevitable.
She basically was already there in reality.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, what has it been 3 years that she's been, with ESL, but, hosting every single event for Riot? I mean, I almost think Deman and Joe will do the exact same thing. I don't think we'll see the end of them, to be honest. I think just because they're with ESL doesn't mean they can't come back and celebrity guest cast or just fill in for every now and then.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't think it'll necessarily be the end of them in League of Legends, but I think you're probably right. They'll drag them out. It'll be the Christmas special,
yeah.
with Deman and Joe. That's how it'll probably go. But I think that's great. I know both of them are keen getting the Counter-Strike, which they've both done in the past, I think. Oh. So that would definitely Joe has. I think Deman has as well. So I think that'll be awesome for them. Which should give us a nice little transition. We can now talk about the EU expansion.
Nice, thank you.
We've got... we've got controversy here. We had controversy in the Counter-Strike and DreamHack as well. So let's just start. Yeah, I know, God. Let's just start with the comedy, though. Gamers
fuck off, Febby.
Losing to N faculty.
Chef de Diov La Fita. Go away. Okay.
Meanwhile, Broken lecturing. Dude, can you, make them go, can you discipline them?
I know. This is how much he's respected as a coach. First the Gamers 2 thing, and now this. Just couch surfing.
He just keeps bringing food to me. I don't want any more. Anyway, so I think we can all agree that the two games that we saw, in fact, G2 and Giants Millenium. My headset just died, didn't it? Anyway, sorry about that. They're both huge upsets.
Yeah.
Like, I think no matter how much hate that G2 got, for whatever reason, no one expected them to lose to N faculty. Like, everyone would have agreed that G2 would have been the better team, but it seemed like there was a lot of issues. And if we're going to talk about why G2 lost the game, it seemed that through laning in an early game, they kind of had like an early lead in the games. They were able to get an early lead. But when it came to contesting objectives, fighting in the jungle, and making successful picks, they just kind of got collapsed on, out-rotated, out-objective fought, and they won a 65-minute game off like a stall comp by like wave clearing for days using Jack Seraph, and that game, like, I knew it was coming.
Don't even fucking remind me about that game, dude. Because
like I was hosting the stream on my channel, and I knew that it was going to be a 65 game because someone told me, and I legit took a nap during that game and came back for the last 5 minutes because I knew what it was going to be like. It was going to be just Seraph wave clearing for days until one big team fight. And I think that's kind of what N faculty have always been really good at. It's playing to the weaknesses of the enemy team and waiting for them to make mistakes. Because in faculty, they aren't really a team to make massive plays, but they're really good at reacting to teams that try to bite more than they can chew. And when that happens, they kind of just like clamp their jaws around them and take a huge victory over that. So if you play a perfect game against N faculty or a semi-perfect game, you'll come out ahead. But if you make a mistake, they're really good at capitalizing it. And that's kind of what happened in all the games.
I think in that series, the bigger underlying issue from the Gamers 2 perspective is they had very, very poor knowledge of how to play the actual map. There was no thought process on how to obtain pressure how to use that pressure to gain an advantage somewhere, how to assign your lanes correctly. And that was like the result of not knowing how to pressure and play the map resulted in them getting caught in bad spots, getting picked off, having bad fights, not contesting good objectives. And it just felt like they would group as 5 and just go mid. And like the first game where JY was on Irelia, I was just waiting for him to start splitting at some point. Like he was strong, he could 1v1, and then he just stayed with the team. And they just 5-manned everywhere. And they're going against like a Malphite, who, I mean, like if you're grouping up as 5, it's not, the greatest thing. And it came down to them. It came down to them losing 2 fights. So it's like, if you're not able to play the map as efficiently, like you're not going to win games. And that was the biggest problem, I think. I don't know if you got anything on that, Cody.
Yeah, Cody, you're a coach. I mean, you must have been watching that game and fucking cringing all the way through it.
I mean, I was cringing.
I mean, most of the time it just looked like they just got caught up in their own mistakes. They're just staying too long, trying to push something. They're low, and then they would just get capitalized on and then lose for it. Like as you said, every game they were ahead, and then they ended up getting caught up in these bad situations where they didn't want to be in, and it just looked like they, as you guys said, they were not putting an objective. They're not like, okay, let's go get this tower, really needs to push here, need to go do this. They were just kind of like, oh, go around the map, probably Ocelot was just shouting at them or something, go here, do this. and it just just didn't work out for them in overall.
What about, though, do you think there's an element of choking involved? Because it just seemed they were incapable of making any decisive moves. It was really weird to watch them. And in that game that went for 65 minutes, it was like they had advantageous positions and they just seemed almost afraid to push that advantage. There was no need for that game to run to 65 minutes. I
mean, being a game down does things to you, but I think it was more tilt than choke. Because even when I was coaching the team, that was a problem that we were trying to work around. And for the most part, when we got Kasing initially, when I was only there for like 4 days after we got Kasing before we parted ways, that problem was slowly getting better. Like the decisive shot calling got better. I have no idea what they did to improve that after I left, but it looks like not much at all, actually. But I think that tilting after getting caught out in those mistakes kind of just... at first, they don't make really good decisive calls, so they make one mistake in the call, and then it turns into I don't trust anybody's call, so the calls are never going to be fully followed or committed on, and that's kind of like a downward spiral, I think is what really happened. And so maybe in the second game, they kind of lost a lot of confidence, and they're like, all right, we're going to play as safe as possible. We're not going to make any mistakes. We're just going to stall out until we're 100% sure we can win. And as a strategy, that's not exactly the most efficient way, but you know what? It worked. Like they were able to win that game in 3 years. And then in the last game, Ku got a really big advantage early in the game. He was playing Lee Sin, and when Ku gets Lee Sin and he gets 3 kills early in the game, the first things that I usually hear come out of his mouth is, "Guys, I'm 1v9ing." And that's kind of, if anyone notices, there was a bit of drama that Ku made a bit of a banter trash talk. I don't know if we have the screenshot, Sam, but something along the lines of, I got an early advantage and my team threw. So what I think might have happened is, Ku got a lot of early kills, felt invincible, and then one guy made a mistake, and then communication kind of went to shit. And downward spiral towards the end of the game.
An element of that. I mean, Cody, you talked about Ocelot probably shouting at people. I got to say, they're a team that have kind of big reputations, but I don't know how cohesive they are or how, well gelled they are as a unit. They certainly didn't seem to kind of come together when they were in the trenches. Do you think that might be on the captain's shoulders, so to speak, that maybe Ocelot has caused a few problems with his personality?
I mean, well, we're not there. We don't know the voice comms specifically. I mean, we could all make, generalizations, and, the past can look, bad for somebody, but doesn't mean necessarily that they were like the sole reason that went down, It could have been clashing calls. It could have been a lot of things, but even in like game 3, like, again, they were ahead. They were doing good. You look at the map, they're like, they got control, they got everything. And then they're just kind of like sitting around top lane forever. And then they just get killed, and they go back up top lane and they get killed again. It's like, well, like, whatever was trying to be said at that point in time just wasn't working. And as Ram said, it just looked like they just couldn't get on the same page, and they couldn't, actually flow together as like a 5-man group. It just looked like there was just 5 solo queue players, to be honest.
To add on to that, it was just like, even besides that third game, like that one was just that was almost as bad as game 2 for me. It just seemed like Gamers 2 was not able to successfully snowball these advantages to get to win the game. Like, they would get the advantages and they would sit on them, and they wouldn't press their advantage. They wouldn't use it to obtain pressure on the map so they can control vision or force a contest on a buff or an objective. Right? They just seemed very slow to do anything, and then when they did something, it was just like, it was so mind-numbing, the decisions that they did end up going with. So there's definitely there was something going on that I think obviously none of us really will probably know, except maybe Ram a little bit, but like, it just felt like the mental side of their game was really not up to par, and then Faculty did a great job, to be quite honest. They came back from losing a very boring game, and they rolled game 3.
Yeah, I want to definitely talk about the things then Faculty did right, but just before we get on to that, this is the part I'm certainly going to enjoy talking about. It's almost the drama. This is what I get off on. So the game is... no, who'd have thought it? A journalist? Like, who likes that sort of thing? Like, go fucking figure. But so here's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Like, what did we look at the mistakes Gamers 2 were making and think, man, they really needed a fucking coach? Like,
Yes.
Seriously, because all of the talk was... Ocelot said just before he kicked you out the house, Ram, he said, we don't need a live-in coach. And they had the drama with Last Shadow before it. And it's like, I don't know, bad decision-making. Isn't that the kind of thing a coach helps with?
Okay, so I can say this just from knowing Broken. Broken is, he's pretty smart when it comes to the game. There's a reason he got into the LCS. There's a reason we beat Cloud9. Right? Like, Broken knows his shit. And he understands, like, being in our environment with Cole at the time, Broken, he learned how to successfully, manage relationships with people. And if he's in a house as a coach, I feel like it was just a terrible decision to get rid of someone, first off, that close to expansion, and second off, say that you don't need a replacement. Like, maybe Ram and G2 had differences, right? Maybe let's just use that as a hypothetical. Not bringing anyone else and thinking you're good enough, that's laughable, because no team in Challenger is good enough to just walk into the LCS.
Well, Ocelot did say a few months prior, I tweeted it out moments after they lost. There was a Twitch chat of him saying, we're easily the best in Challenger. We don't need to try hard in ladder. And actually, the only good teams are us and maybe 3-4 LCS teams. So it made it just all, I mean, seriously, it was like, oh, God, I can't wait to tweet this. And then, smoke the cigarette afterwards. Like, oh, that was so good, So
at the end of the day, I think Ram and Cody can pretty much agree with this. Like, it's gotten to a point in League of Legends and esports in general, you need to have a good support staff, and you have to have a good coaching staff. And not having that, and having the players kind of like, you're having the prisoners run the asylum. That's basically what happens when you don't have a coach, and it goes to shit. And Cody, I think, could probably chime in on that.
Yeah, right. What's that famous book about all the kids on the island where they govern themselves? That's like literally, like, that pretty much sums up CLG when we were governing ourselves.
Lord of the Flies.
Everyone's at each other, and it totally rings true. Like, and granted, it was so early with CLG, right? And it basically was like that. But going from that environment to Curse, which was like exactly what you said, support staff and everything, was just like, wow, things just get done, fights get resolved a little bit better, everything just goes way smoother than it was. Granted, like, the history behind that wasn't that smooth, but it was way smoother than what I had previously experienced. And I think that's for most teams. I mean, everyone's like always like, oh, why are the Koreans so ahead? It's like, well, they got 20 years of infrastructure, support staff, they know exactly what to do, they know how to deal with people are fighting, they instantly, it's 100%
traditional sports, right? That's kind of the model.
It's exactly what it is. And if you wanna play like the big boys, you gotta act like the big boys. You gotta show up and act like professionals and treat it like a job. And at the end of the day, a lot of challenger teams still don't treat it like a job. They don't put in the hours, and ultimately they don't succeed.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm actually not even.
Come on, Ram. This is your fucking time to gloat. You just gloat. Can you just gloat for me, please?
I'm not gonna gloat, because at the same time, like, I guess, yeah, it kind of looks good for me that, I left G2 and G2 lost the expansion tournament. I guess that kind of looks good for me, but, like, at the same time, it means that anything that I taught them during my time didn't stick. Which, like, what does that say about me? And I'm not even sure to this day if what Kubz is saying is true. It's like that they thought they were too good to have an in-house coach, or they just didn't want me as their in-house coach. Like, that was not a question that's been answered. But frankly, I don't even care about the answer, because I mean, obviously there are some people who do appreciate what I can do and the coaching I do. Otherwise, H2K wouldn't have picked me up. Otherwise, they wouldn't have beaten G2 2-0 in the Black Monster Cup. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been this successful. Literally destroying Julius's team so hard in the first game that his computer explodes, that he can't even get it ready for the next game. Like, I think that we're seeing a lot of success here on H2K, and improvements are being made, and that's kind of a big reason why this boot camp is here and why I'm here. It's not gloating. Like, I don't want to gloat. I actually feel really bad that it had to happen that way, you know? Like,
well, I think you would be alone in that, and that brings me on to the next part of the drama bit, and then I can fade back into the background and let you guys who know what you're talking about talk about the games and stuff. But I'm expecting G2 to announce a disbandment very soon. I think they're gonna throw in the towel, and I think, to be honest, they probably should. I said it before going into that game. If you can't win with that roster where everyone's touted to be like, amazingly talented, you got JWoww, who was like one of the most, highly sought after top laners in the original super team with, Froggen and Shook. And then that didn't pan out. You got Ku, like everyone says he's the best, EU challenger jungler, you've got Ocelot. Whatever you want to say about him, he's got experience, I guess. He
did fine mid.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't actually have a bad game. I know everyone wanted to hate on him, but he did quite well. As well. He was easily in the high end of the challenger level.
I actually thought that he was. I actually still think that he's better than Perfect. I don't think Ocelot lost them the games. In Perfect, he performed well, but not good enough that I'd say he completely outperformed Ocelot. And Perfect is a challenger mid laner. And everyone's like, Ocelot equals Diamond 3 or Bronze Elo. I think that circle jerk is a little bit over exaggerated, like most of them are anyway.
Yeah,
I think the sad
should they throw it in? Should they throw it in, Kubz? Should they just call it a fucking day? Because for me, the game is to experiment has kind of failed. They put so much money into it. They put so much time into it. They've talked a good game, and this is their second time now. They've really failed to deliver when it matters.
I think it depends on what Ocelot wants to do. Honestly, I think
third time's the charm.
Honestly, I don't see that team will not. I don't see a reality where those 5 players are going to grind together to the next, Challenger Series. I do think there's going to be changes, but I think that Ocelot will keep Gamers 2 going and just bring in Ocelot. It'll be like Uzi and friends, except it's Ocelot and friends. Bring in his four new friends and try again. And I mean, I think one thing which I think is kind of cool about Gamers 2 is this is a challenger organization, right? And they've had the house for a full year. They haven't made LCS. Like, there's not a lot of organizations that like they're starting to now, but they were one of the earlier ones to do it. So I think just from that perspective, keeping them as an organization, it's kind of a positive sign to the challenger scene. They were able to sustain themselves this long without the LCS money. But I definitely think the roster is gonna go through a big overhaul.
Yeah, no doubt. Cody, your thoughts? I mean, I know you're not a quitter. You always like to, try say we can make improvements over time, and that's very much your ethos. But maybe third time isn't going to be a charm. It feels like there's something fundamentally broken at the core of Gamers 2.
I think it's up to Ocelot to just identify what the issues are. I mean, you've had 2 chances now to figure out why it's not working, what's going to happen. I mean, like, if realizing that you need a coach didn't happen, this time, that it damn well better happen next time if they try for it, So I think it just comes down to, if they really want to try for it, they absolutely need to treat it as we were just talking about. Be professionals. Don't have this drama. Don't get caught up in that bullshit. Just focus on this. Don't even stream. Ocelot, just play with your team. Get good. Focus up and make LCS already, because you're probably just hemorrhaging money at this point, and it's only so long that you can keep an organization going and Challenger when there's literally no money in that scene.
This is why I've never understood it though, Cody, because it's like he talks his team into this corner all the time, because you know what it's like. If you come out and say, yeah, we're gonna win, we're going to fucking smash everybody, no problems, then everyone says, well, he said it now, so that's what's going to happen. And everyone goes into that game thinking, they're not thinking, yeah, we're going to do it. They're thinking, man, if we don't win, everyone's going to say we're douchebags. And that's the problem, I think. Like, it's every time it's so hype. and that's coming from them themselves. It's almost as if just shut up and let the results talk.
Well, I think that's just a lot of esports in general. There's a lot of people who get way too cocky and they get way too confident and they go on and they get steamrolled and they go, what the hell happened? And it's, you really just have to, buckle down and treat it, be humble about it. Say, you know what, I'm confident going in. We're supposed to have a great showing. These guys, we match up with them well. Say things like that so it doesn't come back to bite you in the ass. But that always seems to happen in esports.
Yeah. Ram, any final thoughts on, do you think that was the nail in the coffin for G2? I'm guessing you would have perhaps a bit more insight than any of us. I certainly wouldn't take a bet on them lasting much longer, but what do you think?
I don't know about them continuing as a full team, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of Yuki, JWoww, or Kessing got picked up by another team. I would expect one of those guys to fill in the blanks in an LCS team, maybe this split. Fnatic need an overhaul. They need some new players. Not necessarily sure who, but there are teams that might be looking for players. I do expect one of those guys to go. As for G2 as a team, not with the same roster for sure. There have been kind of rumors circulating around about. Well, the biggest one I heard is following what Kubz said, the print screen of him saying that he was basically 1v9ing.
1v9ing over here.
I heard a rumor that he was kicked from the team. And
I can't imagine Ocelot's going to stand for that.
No, no, not at all. That's not even 6 and also I don't think anyone would stand for Sorry about that. That's the headset. It just
it's fine. It's good.
Sounds like Sonic.
I don't think product placement, man. Logitech. Well, we're not even sponsored by a lot. Anyway,
I'm announcing them next week, Ram. Can you take that back? No, I'm kidding.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened after that because I don't think that's a healthy attitude for a team. I'd be lying if I said that there weren't some attitude problems on G2. But I never got to something that was like that bad though. I never got it, saw it that bad, but that's like a kick in the nuts when you're down after being shot in the head, basically.
Yeah.
Basically what it felt like. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. They could go on for another challenger split, but new players for sure. And I think that when it comes to challenger scene talent, if Giants and H2K get into the LCS and we're looking at the challenger scene pool,
there is none.
I mean, the Yuki, JWoww, Kessing, maybe Mountain from Faculty, maybe Xaxus would kind of be like, or maybe Obvious would be looked at as like the pool of potential replacements.
Yeah, I mean, this brings us nicely on to Faculty. I thought we had Fly on the show, who obviously had worked with Xaxus, and he said, he was going to carry that Faculty side. I thought he had, a great series. It was real good to see him. I think he's a player who belongs in LCS, actually. I think when he ended up getting cut from Rocket, I was really perplexed by that. But I mean, Faculty played, a great series, and they've definitely made me sit up and take notice. I dismissed them. I thought Gamers 2 were going to win, but I'm real happy Faculty managed to turn that round. So, what do we think about Faculty as a team? I mean, can these guys actually challenge?
I think there's a chance. I wouldn't say they're favorited. I definitely think the favorites are H2K is probably the number one favorite, and I would say yeah, never heard of them, but I would say they have a chance if they can just keep playing. Like Xaxus did a really great job this series. He was consistent. He didn't have a really bad game in any of the three, and he did his job. And as a top laner, just having that consistency and doing your job well, that's all you can do. You don't need to make the flashy 1 versus 3 play. You know what I mean? It's just about being consistent. And so I definitely think that was a good performance by Faculty. I think they'll just build on it. They got a couple weeks until they'll land. And if they keep going like this, I think they might be ready to surprise some people.
Well, we play them first. We play them first, H2K, and one of the big things that we're trying to me and Secret Coach, co-coach, we are trying to implement like the biggest mindset change that we're trying to do is tilting doesn't exist. And we're trying to fix that. And I think the biggest way to do that is to not overestimate our enemies. Like, I do feel like if there's ever a chance that H2K had like the biggest chance to get into the LCS, it would be now. I would say that we are the favorites, but these guys are sick and tired of losing at expansion tournaments. Like, they've told me that. That's why they're doing this boot camp. They're bringing on like 2 coaches, me and another person, and they're just like, no man, we're fucking tired of it. So let's just fucking get it straight. We're not overconfident. We're not gonna underestimate our opponents. Like, we're gonna make LCS now. We're gonna do it the right way. So, and faculty are an obstacle. Regardless, they have a particular play style. Their team play is actually really, really good. Maybe individually they do fall behind against other teams. Like Gamers 2 were better individually, but we saw and we know time and time that individual skill doesn't really win games. So I guess and faculty, I think even if we might beat them, I think them and Giants are the next two big contenders to be. And I think that they actually have a good chance against Giants, just the way that they play.
So Cody, your thoughts about N faculty? Did they impress you?
I don't know. Those games were.
I know. I deleted them from my memory too. But let's pretend. Let's pretend you did.
I mean, at the end of the day, they won though. They won over a team that despite saying whatever about that team, they were still a pretty good team. They were still a pretty good challenger team. They were good enough to make it to that point in the expansion tournament, so they can't be that bad, right? And these guys are now going up as top 4. So, I think if they're able to get good laning phases in, because we actually did see some pretty good team fighting from these guys in objective control. So if they can focus on their laning phase and actually get ahead instead of coming back from these like behind victories, I think they'll actually do pretty good.
Yeah, cool. Well, hopefully not too good for Ram's sake, but we'll see how that pans out.
Do we get to talk about the huge upset now?
Yes,
yeah,
let's
nice
talk about the huge upset.
All waiting for.
Right, so come on, let's do it. Millenium, who I thought were going to be actually, fuck it, I'll just come out and say it. I thought they were favorites for the whole thing. I pretty much assumed they would be in LCS next season. They came up against Giants. I gave them no hope. I had Millenium at 2-0. Ram, I can't remember what you predicted. I know you were bigging up Giants, but I think you gave it 2-1 to Millenium.
I said 2-1 to Millenium, but it was hard to call because Giants pulled out these fucking crazy things. And you know who else thought Millenium was going to win the entire tournament? And Prague. So let me just take 2 seconds to say, suck it, and Prague. Suck it. No, Giants kind of just played their own game. Like, team play-wise, their team play isn't incredibly impeccable, but like in a way that might sound mean, they kind of brought the game level a bit down and just brute forced their way to victory. Like Peppy on his Seraph just landing every single skill shot, fucking just doing like this is literally what we saw Peppy do every game in when he gets Seraph. He just kind of like hard carries, lands every skill shot. And Ryu, like I'm not gonna lie, he looked outclassed, like really really hard outclassed by this mid laner. And Riot made some really big plays with Thresh, and they respect banned Seraph, and then they gave away Alistair to Riot, and he kind of just owned that game, did some really amazing W flash Qs, and it was just, they kind of have a no filter when it comes to just going in and taking risks, and they kind of just brute forced their way to 2 victories after that first game.
Yeah, I like the Ahri kill over the wall just solo. It's just like, well, Ahri's dead.
Yeah,
and the game.
No, it was so good.
I think that series as a whole, there was so much hype behind Ryu and Horo, and I just feel like neither of them performed the way anyone expected them to. Like,
well, I mean, that's the biggest disappointment, the Ryu performance. I mean, again, maybe I was getting sucked in with, Anne Prague's Korean Master Race agenda, when we've been talking about it. But actually, I just want to say as well, I mean, a lot of people tweeted some fairly actually horrendous abuse. I don't know why she attracts it so much. I guess we're similar personalities. I get it as well. But I think that was a reasonable assumption, actually, that Ryu would...
Yeah, I think Millenium was expected to
destroy everybody.
Yeah, and they just did not perform the way they were expected to. And that was a huge problem. Like, they had some good synergy together, but their 2v2s even, they didn't win them. They didn't win all their 2v2s. Go ahead, Ren.
I don't know. Like, I think everybody else except for the people who actually played Millenium were seeing like, oh, Ryu's going to do so well. Like, I think that a lot of the pros were saying that that Ryu was not that good and just didn't perform well. Like, I think it was a general conclusion that Horo was good, and I thought in the first 2 games Horo was good. In the last game he kind of played like shit, but just the general consensus on Ryu was that he kind of got outclassed by a lot of mid laners. That's why it was really hard for me to look at a lot of people like, oh, Ryu's gonna shit on every challenger mid laner, and then kind of look what happened.
I think realistically, it was, you could have argued Ryu could come in and be, bottom end LCS caliber, somewhere in the top 5, top 6 of challenger, but like it didn't expect it to go the way it did. You know what I mean?
I think the biggest surprise is just the community. I think that deep down every challenger team and maybe some of the LCS teams that scrimmed them kind of wouldn't be surprised. Like, I know a lot of people weren't surprised about the action, but I think most people are mostly surprised not just of how bad Ryu did, but kind of how good the mid laner of Giants did in response. Like, he did so good that people were accusing him of scripting. Like, I think that's kind of like half salty desperation, more half testament to like that there is.
So let's just quickly get into that drama then, because I think it's fairly open and shut. I mean, when I first saw the accusations come in, I know lots of hack coders and scripters, people who program private cheats, that kind of thing, for work purposes, obviously. And I messaged a couple of scripters and had them review the footage. Their conclusion was no scripts at all. They said they couldn't see how it could be. It didn't make sense. They said there was some footage, if taken in isolation, it might look, but overall, over the course of the game, they didn't see how it could be.
You can watch the game. He misses, a good amount of skill shots. Like, granted, like, he hits some nice stuff, right? And it's like, oh my god, wow. But like, you watch it, and he doesn't absolutely hit everything. It's not like this perfect 100% like some sort of Xerath robot that's just annihilating everything. He misses skill shots just the same. I think he just had a stellar series.
I think based on the CS:GO, what just happened with Olaf Gate over there, with the whole boosting thing. Yeah. Then you have this amazing stuff happen with the how do you pronounce his alias, bro? Ram? Peppy? Just Peppy?
Pepinero.
Pepinero.
Pepperino. I keep saying Pepperinos. I just did it as well. I was so conscious not to say Pepperino because like everyone calls it Pepperino.
Just go ex Peppy. Just go ex Peppy.
Okay, ex Peppy. Okay, so after the whole CS:GO incident, which was fresh on everyone's mind from DreamHack, this happens with ex Peppy, right? And he has this great game, and people are looking at the game, and this is Reddit. People cannot rationalize certain things, so they can't rationalize that Millenium lost, and they're like, the only way this could have happened is because he was scripting. And granted, there are more scripts now in League of Legends. It's becoming a bigger problem, which needs to be addressed. That's a completely different can of worms, though. But in this scenario, like, it's very clear that he's not. Like, you watch the game, there's no consistency to what he's doing. Like, he's missing skill shots. There's not a consistent rotation. He's not doing it based on certain patterns of movement. So it's just a really great game, and I think it's kind of upsetting to me a little bit that the first response that a majority of people had after the game was this guy was cheating and taking away from the hard work and credibility that he's clearly put in to have such a great performance. I think that's really, really like, that's upsetting to me.
I mean,
I agree.
That's just kind of him. Like, he has a lot of really strong performances on key champions, notably his Xerath and TF are like the champions that he's really well known for, and sort of like that 1v9 carry style that we kind of saw. Holy shit, what just happened on chat? I don't know what that was. Something wrong with, I'm using a really shitty laptop, but like had a similar performance on those champions in Paris Games Week, which was a LAN event. And I just don't see it being possible to script at a LAN. Like, maybe he was able to sneak in a USB, like, kind of under there, but I mean, I'm sure that would have gone noticed somehow by people.
Tell that to the Counter-Strike community.
Okay. The Counter-Strike, yeah, I can agree with, yeah, okay. Well, that's different. Didn't they say
pretty
that you
strict, though.
Yeah, League is.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I tried explaining this to the admins.
You can't go to the bathroom right now.
Isn't it? they brought it. Isn't the like just like try to enlighten me, like culture me for a sec. The script that Counter-Strike came from Steam itself, that it could be transferred via Steam. You didn't really need a physical copy of it at the event, right?
Yeah, that's true. But in this instance, there's still an accusation for one player in particular, even though they didn't have access to internet connections, they didn't have their mobile phones. People are saying it's in the peripheral itself, is the allegation.
And it could be, but we don't really know much about scripts. But he had a similar performance at Paris Game Week, and no one ever brought up, scripting as a potential. Like landing 3 Xerath ults perfectly, predicting flashes with that. Like, it happened at a LAN event on stream, and no one made or bitched about it. But then it happens against Millenium, a team favored to win, and suddenly everyone's up in arms. Don't you think that might just be a bit of a double standard there? Like the classic Reddit double standard?
I mean, this happens a lot in esports in general. I know Cody will be able to identify with this as well. But it's always the fucking case that when somebody new and unknown comes through and performs, if they've not been hyped by existing pros, if there hasn't been this ridiculous like circle jerk in their favor before they arrive, then the first thing that'll happen is an accusation. They can't be legit. I've seen this time and time again with, young and upcoming players in Counter-Strike. They smash a senior player's, head in on a server, and they're like, well, he's cheating, he's toggling, obviously, because no one can beat me. And if he was good, I'd know about it. That's the, kind of arrogant statement. So and we all know that in any esport, there's this almost like there's gatekeepers to opportunity. And they allow players through, and they recycle the same talent. When unknown names do have a performance that exceptional, I think the community is almost conditioned. Like we pay so much attention to what the pros and the pundits say that when someone performs, if we've not heard about them, it must be bullshit. Actually, I think that's kind of the default reaction.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I could understand that, but a lot of people. Well, I guess the Spanish community were hyping up Xpepi, and a few others were hyping him up. I guess just people don't really pay attention to EU Challenger. Most people would fall asleep. Shocking, right? That the
really shocking.
Shocking that
after the great games we've seen so far as well.
Well, we haven't seen
definitely.
Jack,
I'm just gonna say, like, with the scripting and stuff, I think it's definitely something which we're seeing more of in League, which is definitely not a great thing. And there will be a time. There will be a day that there's going to be a player in the competitive scene which will get caught doing something. It's just the reality. Someone will eventually do it, right? And it's bad to accept it, but it's just it's nature, it's competitiveness. Some people take it too far. Point being, this is a case where the conclusion was rushed to, and there's it's hard right now to kind of fully know the extent of, how to figure out what the script is, right? How to figure out what's the bug, the exploit, whatever. There's no real way to do that yet, so it's very scary to me in that sense that, like, let's say in a very, very different, like in a alternate universe, he is scripting and he's getting away with it, right? Let's just use that for argument's sake. Like, that's scary that we can't detect it, but at least I think in this situation he's clean.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I had people look at it that wouldn't definitely know. I can't see how it's possible. I think as well, we've got to give people the benefit of the doubt, unless there was something. That's what I mean. It's like Cody says. There was times when he misses way too much for you to think, well, there's a script going on.
Can I interject just real fast as well?
You certainly can, Ram.
Giving the benefit of the doubt is a really good point, because Xpecial made a really nice post actually on his Facebook. I don't know if you read it. About
the best thing I ever seen him write.
I mean, okay, you could say that, but I agree. I thought it was a great
good post.
Yeah. If you want to just talk about it, go for it. You haven't really talked in a while.
Yeah, I actually read it before we started the show, and I was actually surprised how much I agreed with him, and how I thought it was just really well written, and he makes a strong point. I mean, like, a lot of times people will just jump on anything just for the sake of jumping on something. As we all know, the Reddit circle jerk or bandwagon, whatever you want to call it, is a vicious monster and on its own, and it honestly can ruin people. And you can take away someone's, you know, basically pride and joy. They can be feeling like amazing, like 10 out of 10, like, yeah, I had the best game of my life. I'm on the top of the world. And you're like, I can't wait to see what Reddit has to say, but they're calling me a cheater. What, like, you know, and like, you know, and that can just kill somebody's confidence, especially with these young guys coming up too. You know, confidence, especially, you know, in esports, is such a hard thing to maintain when we have such a vocal community, and I feel like esports interacts with our fans and our community like 10 times more than other organizations. So things that are said are also taken to heart way more too. And I don't think, you know, I mean, like, well, our community of young males predominantly don't really take that into consideration when talking about other players, and especially somebody, as I said, who had a great game and basically gets that taken away from him because of, you know, accusations or not agreeing with the team that won, or, you know, any other issue that
people just being salty, right?
Yeah, and it's honestly, it can ruin people's days because of that, and that's not what you want for your players.
Not even just ruining people's days, you could ruin people's entire reputation. Just based on something like that. Like he made a big point about the statement, "You're innocent until proven guilty." And if we think about history, that's something that's actually recently, maybe in like the past 100, I'm like really lost when it comes from date, but it's not something that's always been that way. Like court systems before, you were guilty and you had to prove your innocence. And what happened? A lot of innocent people fucking died, like got executed.
Well, I think the best example is probably, you know, where we get the word witch hunting from, and obviously, I hate the way it's overused in our community, actually, because if someone,
toxic.
If someone scams money from somebody else and they've absolutely done it, and you say, let's fucking complain about this guy, that's not a witch hunt, because, you know, first of all, witches don't exist. That's the point when you use the term witch hunt.
To your knowledge.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. Are you going to surprise me now? Like, your skin's going to turn green and I'm going to suddenly become a toad? Is this? No, I'm pretty confident witches don't exist. But obviously, the test, the famous test to prove if you were a witch, it would be, you know, they throw you in the fucking lake with rocks tied to you. And if you floated and survived, you were a witch, so they killed you. And if you drowned, you were innocent, but you're fucking dead. You know, and I kind of think that pretty much sums up a lot of the Reddit antics that go on. You know, I mean, I've had it in the last 48 hours. I know everyone on this show.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like, it's almost as if we want to fucking, you know, and I say, God, I wish we would go after the right people. I think a lot of the time we go after people for fairly innocuous things. And it's like we just keep kicking them and kicking them and kicking them until they're fucking till they're dead, and then we go, oh, they weren't that bad. I mean, prime example, you know, no. Well, I'm not even going to do that actually, because I thought that was a little bit whiny. But that's just me. But Thorin, I think, is a great example of this. So he's the best fucking League of Legends, you know, content creator, whatever. He, you know, revered, well respected. His interviews are great. His written content's great. His video content's great. His analysis is cool. You know, he's a guy that brings so much to the League of Legends community. And yet, while he was on Gamers, it seemed to be every week, like, what can we do to get him fired? Like, how can we get him fired this week? Oh, look, he's used the word retard in a tweet. Well, I've never used the word retard before. Let's get this guy fucking fired. And they went after him. And then when he finally got fired, it's like now that there's been a punishment, everyone's like, man, God, I miss Thorin. Like, why haven't we got more Thorin? Like, doesn't on game suck without Thorin? It's like
a punishment for being opinionated, though. I mean, like you said it yourself, you get flack all the time, right? That's what you get for being opinionated. That's what you get for trying to say, you know, I don't agree. Hold up, I don't agree with this. And if you go against, the grain of salt or whatever, not a grain of salt, against the will of the masses, you're going to be, it's not going to be very good. You're going to get, and there's a lot of shitty people out there that will just, jump on you and just say, shitty things to you just because they disagree with you. And that is ultimately why. And Thorne is the king of opinionated things, right? So of course he's going to get tons of flack, and every single word he says is going to get scrutinized. Like, granted, I think he said some, questionable things, but you know what? Like, as he said, though, he does great content. And he's always done, a lot for the esports scene and all this other things. But people don't forget. People don't remember that. People remember the, shitty thing you did this time and shitty thing you did that. But at the end of the day, there's human beings that are opinionated, right?
Selective memory, huh?
He's
Yeah.
don't get me started on that. Thorin has changed though, like a lot of his like mannerisms. He's toned it down a little bit. Like he's made the effort, right? And the thing I love about like the LoL community is like this is such a different interaction than what I'm used to, right? Like when I played hockey, back when I wasn't, really fat. And did Cody die?
Yeah, he's dropped.
Okay.
I think he heard the word hockey and just fucking tuned out.
Could
All right,
we put
so
the American
fuck-
flag and
fuck
put
this
Nintendo
shit.
face
Point,
on it for
yeah.
just 1 second? Yeah.
The point being, the only interaction was like, doing an interview after the game, right? For like the local newspaper or something. With League, you can like people can interact with you so easily. They can tweet at you, Facebook, watch a stream, right? Like it's very interactive with people, and I think sometimes we take that for granted, and people start to cross a certain line when it comes to respecting, leave it like having some respect for the opponent. They'll start to do these ruthless, really mean things, and
Mhm.
like I showed my parents some of the comments I was getting. They're like, "Is this normal?" I was like, "This is not really that bad," and they were just like astonished that people would talk to people this way. And it's just like accusing someone of cheating and jumping on that bandwagon with XP, it could have been really bad. Fortunately, it wasn't. And I think this like that mentality where people will just kind of hound someone when when it doesn't go their way and they don't agree with the decision, when a majority of people don't agree with the decision and they have this pack mentality to just like hound you,
Yeah.
it's just it doesn't do anything. It's honestly just a waste. It's honestly just a waste of everyone's time at that point.
I had over 750 messages, not and about I'd say roughly 40, 50 personal messages just of abuse yesterday. One day, it was incredible.
It's
Um,
it's just that line is like, you know what, like it's cool to not like it's cool if people hate you. You know what I mean? Like not everyone has to like someone, but when you're getting to that line, right? It's just like what's the point? Like what's the point of sending someone a message saying, go kill yourself? That's when it gets to the point where it's like,
oh
man,
well,
that's
I had some great ones. So hang on, let me just do this before we cut to break. Let me read.
Just wait. Yeah, talking about people, things that do. People would just love to complain about everything. Like, I think someone legitimately just complained about the way you spelt apologize.
Yeah, oh yeah, there was that
Like,
one.
there was a Reddit thread. It's just like
Spelling
when
it
you're
with
under the
X.
spotlight. Yeah, and when you get under the spotlight, and that's just how ridiculous people will get. They will literally criticize you for every small thing they don't like and treat it as if you're the next spawn of Hitler. And that's kind of what happens when you get under that bad spotlight. Like everyone will just jump on every small thing that they don't like.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just going through. I'm trying to find the funny ones because like, there's a lot of them going. Why don't you just fuck off out of the scene? It will be a great day when you
oh,
die.
I hope I never see you in League of Legends again. Like,
Yeah.
man, I get those
This
too.
this is a good one. I heard from a friend you have a micro penis. That was pretty cool. I
Oh,
mean,
Ram, you're frozen, by the way.
fuck. So, well, look. I think since all our guests are dead.
Yeah, I'm dying here. Internet's dying.
Yeah, we're moving into self-pity mode. We should probably go to a break. We'll try and get Cody back. I'm sure he's alive. And look at Ram's cheeky little face there. But just before we do, we had a tweet come in from one of our users who basically we get people making like funny graphics and stuff all the time for us. And this one was Ram's mixtape. Someone made a cover for it. Breaking Tables, Vol 34, DJ Ram Emal. And you can see he's looking great there. Absolute proper gangster. So I just want to say thanks to whoever made that. We'll give you a proper shout out at the end of the show, but that's awesome. Anyway, we're going to quickly cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our
North
EU final.
America.
Yeah. Our EU Final Four predictions, and then we'll just cruise through. We'll have NA expansion predictions because that's what we really want to grill Cody about. We're going to talk about these changes in coaching, a little bit of OGN, and then we'll move to IEM San Jose predictions. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. My advice is go get some food, get watered, all the things that you need to do, and we'll be right back. See you shortly. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to First Blood. That was a nice break. I managed to get a cup of tea, and we just spent the break just kind of circle jerking about how hard we've got it and how mean people are on Reddit. We managed to get Cody back, which is good. A good advert for your internet provider.
Yeah.
But
Sean, number one shit.
I just find it amazing. I feel so sorry for Americans because it's like if
Canadians,
Comcast
bro.
Canadians, sorry.
Canada,
This is even worse.
Yeah.
It's even worse.
It can't be worse than Comcast.
It is. Dude, it just
It's worse.
randomly
No,
disconnects.
it's way-
I'll be like streaming and be like, ding, out for an hour. I'm like, cool, great. God, I'm paying for this shit.
That's fucking a tragedy. And I apologize. I apologize for referring to you as an American. It's just we use the term American and we include Canadians over here because we're ignorant. British people are like that. You know, we had an empire once. We got to say what we want, and that's how we are.
Fair enough.
So,
fair enough.
let's quickly talk about our final four predictions. Obviously, the four teams are Giants, and Faculty, H2K, and Reason Gaming. I think this is actually a lot stronger now that I've seen all the teams play than I thought it was going to be. It certainly wasn't the four names I thought we would see in the end. But actually, based on performances, these games are going to be close. Anyone has the potential on their day to beat anyone else. So let's talk about how we see it all going. Cody, I'll start with you. You're the guest. Your thoughts on these four teams?
I'll probably give it to Rams team, H2K. I want to see him go through. He's had a long, hard road, and I want to see him succeed. So I'm going to give it to them. I want them to succeed, and I'm going to think he's going to go through first.
That was.
I don't have too much knowledge on the European scene, so I can't say too much. But as I said, I'll just give it to Ram here.
For me, then, I definitely think H2K is the favorites. You know, hopefully it's not like the relegation tournament where they just, have a really lackluster showing. I think this is a much better situation for them. I think they're pretty much, in my mind, a 70 to 80% lock if they show up. And then after that, it becomes interesting to me, right? Because there's N Faculty, there's Reason, and there's Giants. I honestly feel like any of those three teams can take that second spot. Now, just for the sake of, having to pick one, I'll say that second spot will go to N Faculty. And it'll be H2K and N Faculty.
I think that's a big call, man, because, Reason Gaming, I know it's kind of a mix. They got some real good players on paper. And Faculty have impressed kind of in a strange way. They've impressed more like their resilience.
I'm just thinking an underdog here, Richard.
Yeah, no, I get it. But I mean, Giants have beaten the team for me that were the overall favourites. So surely we got to say it's H2K and Giants at this point.
I would love to see Xpepe versus Xpeke.
Hey, if Xpeke is even in the LCS, you
I
never
would say
know,
if
right?
Xpeke is an LCS. Next split.
If I were to make a logical assumption, I think that definitely us would be the team to make it in, and then it would be dependent on who really does show up that day between N Faculty and Giants. Because I don't think that Reason Gaming are going to beat Giants because they do play them first, and I think that N Faculty can come out on top on Reason Gaming, which means that we're probably going to see a Giants N Faculty thing, and it's actually really interesting because. Giants and Faculty play really different in the way that Faculty revolves around team play, where Giants revolves around really aggressive early game strategies to pull advantages and then snowball it with just really hardcore engages. If Faculty can keep the early game really civil, I guess is the right way to say it, civil, controlled, and control maybe the first 15 minutes of the game, I think their rotations are better overall than Giants. But we haven't really seen them. Yeah, rotations. We haven't really seen them on 420 yet, though. It's a new game.
That's the biggest thing, yeah.
Yeah. We don't really know.
I heard every day's 420 in the H2K house, bro. That's what I've heard.
Hey.
Dank memes, bro.
I think that we've grasped 420 well. Oh my god. We understand 420 well
How
enough.
do you grasp it? Show us.
But how can 420 be real if our champions aren't real? No, I think we understand 420 the patch. We understand the patch better, really well right now, and it can only get better as we keep playing. but there's no real way to assess and faculty Giants because they're not really playing the Black Monster Cup or the tournaments that are really showcasing it, so they'll have time to prepare their strategies.
I think
Based on what we know, though, from 419, that's kind of how I expect the games to go. But I think it's not easy to make an assessment because the game has changed.
I think the biggest thing is Giants is this early game high pressure team that we're talking about, right? And with 420, I feel like that's such a hard style to continue to play, right? To be super aggressive early, invade the enemy jungle, counter jungle, get the deep vision. Like it's a very different meta game, right?
Mm.
And so for me, that's kind of the factor that makes Giants kind of below end faculty. It's just like Giants don't have like this thing about them in team fights, or they don't have that swagger that end faculty has, right? But when end faculty gets into a fight, they just win the fight. Like every time they fight, they either go even or they win. And that's like, it might just be the games they play, but the point being, like, with the new meta, how different the early game is, it's not going to be Giants able to just walk all over aggressively. It's a very different meta game, and that's where I think the difference is going to lie between those two teams.
The question I wanted to ask was, on a previous show, Ram, before you were associated with H2K, we talked about them being, a ticking time bomb. I think that they were your words, actually. We talked about Forbidden being the tilt master. So now that you're coach of this team, I mean, do you still feel that way? Like, is that something you guys have been working on?
I mean, I said it towards the beginning of the show, that it would be stupid to say that this team doesn't tilt. Like, I think the running joke in the house is that we all basically sit like on a bunch of tables, and Febivens is at the end of the wall, and like he's playing his game, so the guys kind of just go behind him and just watch him play because we don't have our PCs yet. And like Hjarnan is yelling to Febivens like, "Oh yeah, make sure to tilt more," and Odamn is like yelling across the room, "Oh, make sure to tilt more, Febi." It's like it's become like a running joke in a sense, but I mean it's happened in 2 relegation tournaments already so far. They understand that it's a problem, and they openly talk about how that's gonna be their downfall. And that's not something that I really knew because I wasn't as super closely associated with the team. It wasn't when I was helping them briefly after I left CW against SKP and UOL in the Challenger playoffs. It wasn't something that was discussed, but it was really surprising for me to come in and see them openly discuss it, because you wouldn't really expect Challenger teams to openly discuss huge drawbacks. Like, you'd expect people to be cocky. It's definitely a problem. But it's been identified, and that's generally like the first step in fixing a problem. And that's
it is.
That's a big focus.
I know that from my AA meetings. So you're absolutely right. So just Cody as well. I mean, we didn't talk too much about getting some of your thoughts as to the whys. I mean, you said, you want Ram to do well, obviously, so we know H2K is a pick. But what about the potential of Giants going all the way and being a real underdog success story and getting into the LCS? Is that something you think could well happen at this point?
I mean, they're definitely on the upswing right now. I mean, they came off, as sort of shaky games, but they definitely do have the potential. And I know that word's like thrown around a lot, the potential, right? But they really showed that they can come in, and they probably, honestly, I think it's just going to be really close overall for who actually makes it. I think all these teams are in about the same boat. I do think Rams team has a little bit of advantage here, but I definitely think Giants is still a contender to come in and win.
Yeah. But I definitely think.
Sorry, go on, Kubz. I'll let you have the final point, and then we'll move on. We'll get on to
just to say the patch is the biggest thing. I think is what everyone here can kind of agree on, is the change in the patch is the biggest thing.
Well, I mean, everyone's been talking about, are we going to get cheesed? I know the H2K manager, he came on a show that I did, and him and Odie had a discussion about. Yeah, he was worried about people getting cheesed and that kind of thing.
Everyone's worried about that. Honestly, I think it's kind of a joke that they have an expansion tournament on a brand new patch. It seems,
Thank you.
Seems
Thank
wildly...
you.
Here's the thing, we all agree on that, but actually whenever we seem to talk about it publicly, everyone says, whenever I talk to a player especially, they say the same thing. They go, look, we've played new tournaments on brand new patches before. It's how League of Legends has always been. It's it's something
Not
you've
a
got to
tournament
get
of this
used to.
magnitude. Not of this magnitude.
Yeah,
There's never been a tournament of
and
this
that's
magnitude.
my comeback as well. I think in an ideal world it would have been, the entire tournament is on, it had to be at least on one patch all the way through. You think you need that consistency at least. But yeah, I don't know. So I mean, well, let's talk about that then briefly. Cody, I mean, you said there's a lot of people worried about it, so I'm guessing obviously you'll have talked to some of your colleagues in NA. What's the kind of sense out
anybody,
there?
any manager I've talked to, any player I've talked to, everyone's just going like, like why? Like, what is the point? It reminds me back in the day when this is a throwback, WCG 2010, right? So we're going up to play against Dan Din's team as our original CLG roster, and MF had came out that day. Misfortune is brand new, broken as ever, right? And Matt Marcoux like, yeah, I'm gonna allow this champion, and I can't remember who had been playing the champion on his laptop the entire day, and just picks at both games, and he's like carrying his team with it. We're like, why was this allowed through? Like, why? We haven't seen it, we haven't played against it. Like, how is that fair? And I know that everyone gets the chance to play on patch 420, but it's just so brand new, and it's like you've had the Black Cleaver disaster, the Warmogs disaster, all these preseason patches have just been so incredibly, like, I'm gonna add another word, and vastly broken, just to like push that point. It's like, why would you have something that could have so much potential to be cheesed as this like pinnacle defining tournament if you're adding 2 additional LCS teams? That just absolutely blows my mind in the form of stupidity. Like,
it blows my mind that Misfortune was ever good, actually. That's what that's blowing my mind.
That ultimate was strong.
Her ultimate was like it was really big. The thing is though, like, yes, you know what, like 3 weeks is a long time, and for any other tournament, perfectly fine. For this, like I said, Riot had the idea of an expansion. They always have great ideas. It's sometimes their failure to execute it 100% optimally, and this is just that scenario, and that's kind of where it stands, I think. But on the bright side, we saw games on 420 yesterday in Korea, so.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it. You've done it, Kubz. You can have my job. I'm not going to come back next week. You've done it. You've served me.
No, you got it.
Your transition.
The segue potential.
I know, it's just unreal, isn't he? Like, this guy's got it all. So, OGN, the game's kind of underway. I mean, let's talk about... okay, let's talk about 420 and how it's been going out with our Korean overlords. Because obviously everyone's going to copy whatever they do. That seems to be how we like to do things in the West. So what have we seen? What can we learn from these early games?
Ezreal and LeBlanc mid.
I'll kind of start this off, I guess, a little bit, just because I watched all the games yesterday. Obviously, to stay up to date, if I want to keep coaching, I watch these games. So what I thought was really peculiar, first and foremost, how the fuck did Warwick get through twice? Someone explain that to me. Like, that champion right now, literally the most broken. So he gets through twice, that's fine.
I interviewed a bunch of players out of DreamHack, and I'm slowly releasing the interviews, and everyone's like, we don't think Warwick's broken. I'm like, are you fucking serious? They're like, well, maybe in solo queue it's broken, but in a team game, nah, never. And then obviously we see Koreans picking him, and
But what SKT did... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you why Warwick's not that good. It's because the fucking Huya Wolves suck dick at early game pressure. They didn't do jack shit. They just let Bengi out ganked the Lee Sin. Like, I just watched the games here, and we were sitting here thinking like, oh, Warwick got through. Like, he's good if you give him an early game. And that's exactly what happened. Like, Marin completely shat on that Maokai with his Lissandra. Faker had complete control in the mid lane. Like,
okay, but now if we talk about that, right? Here's the thing. At least the jungle pathing that Warwick and Byram. Okay, but anyways, the jungle pathing that was taken by Warwick and Lee Sin, right? They both started on the bottom side of the map, right? Yeah. So Warwick did a full clear. He did what Golems, red buff, Raptors, Wolves, blue, Gromp base, right? Lee Sin, Lee mirrored the jungle path. He could not gank when he was done. He had to base. And Lee Sin has always been this champion where you crush through 2 buffs and you go put pressure somewhere on the map. You get a gank in. You go into the other jungle, right? And he wasn't able to do this because of how he pathed that first game, right? He did a full clear. And even after he based, got his is it the Trailblazer? That's the one with the stun and the AoE smite. But he finally got that and started to tried to put some pressure, but top had already gone to shit, right? Because Marin already had the kills on Lissandra. Smeb was already having a tough time. Bot lane also, I think, got double killed. Just solo by Bang and Wolf, they got the solo kill. And then Warwick gets his first gank off top, and the game's starting to snowball already because they don't get this early pressure from Lee Sin because of the way the jungle was pathed. And
no,
so they lose.
They lost lanes alone. Like, in a real game, this doesn't happen. You do not lose lane 1v1 or 2v2. Not that early. It just should not ever happen if we're talking about clear, like, even games. Like, it's just so clear that these teams were so mismatched in just individual play. It wasn't even anything that the junglers did in that game. The Warwick was literally like, holy shit, I have so much fucking freedom to do whatever I want. I'm going to go walk up to this lane and Q the guy, and he's going to die because, you know what, I don't even fucking need ultimate to gank him. Has nothing to do with the fact that Lee backed, because actually he did his jungle path wrong. You should be backing after you finish your red, pick up the Trailblazer, get level 4, and then gank. That's basically how every EU jungler's been doing it.
And he stayed.
He stayed to level 4, and so yeah, obviously his gank came late because he based after he finished his entire jungle clear, not before. But like, in a real, actual game where the teams are even, Warwick literally does nothing up until level 6. He does not provide any sort of pressure. All he's got is that if someone walks up to you and fights you, you're probably going to win because you have so much sustain. But in a real game, something like Pantheon Lee Sin's going to walk all over him in the jungle. Like, no good team is going to let Warwick get to level 6 for free. They're going to take some sort of early advantage. And that's always got to be the sacrifice you make, picking champions like Warwick, picking champions like Fiddle, where you concede early pressure for that really strong level 6.
Cody, did you catch any of the OGN games? And if so, what have you gleaned about 420 and what sort of stuff we might see in the upcoming games?
I was just surprised to see so much LeBlanc always coming out now. I feel like she's just getting really popular again. Like I was like saying before, I like turned it on. I'm like, wait, Lulu versus LeBlanc mid. What am I watching right now? And I'm surprised. She actually had a lot of success. Everyone was crying over the fact that she got her silence removed, right? And they're like, worthless, And everyone always does that small little nerf, and everyone just completely forgets about a champion, right? And then she comes back, and it's just like, oh wow, LeBlanc is still doing everything we thought LeBlanc would do, right? And just the results coming from that, the picks that are happening. Especially, I think the reason she's coming back is because like Dragon's also such a high priority now. Dragon, when you get into those 3-4, when you can hit that level 5 Dragon, it's just as good as Baron pretty much at this point, right? So it's like they have all these objectives, and picks I think just matter way more now. But then we also saw them run I saw them run Ezreal mid, Faker did. And he had really good success with that too. Yeah.
That was just like they got that second Dragon. Right, and they got like the pushing power with the 15% increased damage, and Faker goes Triforce along with Corki, right? So now they have double Triforce with Lissandra, Warwick, Morgana. How are you going to get onto that team? They're both going to leave, and then they can also set up great picks with Lissandra ult or Warwick ult, and they can re-engage team fights if they disengage. They have all these great re-engage tools. So the way that comp won was getting ahead early. They got ahead early. They got 2 dragons. They have they have these bonuses, and they closed the game season 3 style. 30 minutes, nice and clean. Really nothing bad there, right? And then go ahead.
I think the big issue with LeBlanc and why she lost her popularity and why she's coming back in a sense is a little bit of what Elementz was saying. It's like, the dragon is a big deal, and you could basically contest the dragon when they have one less member, but you can do that with Baron because the Baron raped you. But with dragon, it's a lot easier to tank it, does less damage. And the big concern with LeBlanc was not that she wasn't going to do enough damage, was that you would be able to retaliate while she's doing her burst. But if you have good vision control, you're never going to see LeBlanc come in. And no one's going to have enough reflexes to be able to deal with a DFGQQW, and that's all your HP gone. So I think champions like Lissandra would be good against LeBlanc if you can just R her as she's doing her full combo. But if you have good vision control, then LeBlanc kind of still has the same strength that she had. And that's kind of what SKT did, is that they had the best vision control, the better vision control, did the picks with the Warwick in the first game, or LeBlanc in the other game, and just controlled the dragons off that, and that's how they won games. I think that's how the patch will be played for the first month and a half, maybe 2.
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting right now because there's all these different picks coming in. Like we said, like Lulu LeBlanc is like week 1 of the summer split. That's like the lane matchup. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, what the hell am I watching? But it was really not cool to see like these picks. And then in the other set, which was Incredible Miracle versus CJ Entis, they pick Lissandra, right? IM picks Lissandra, and CJ responds with a Jarvan top, and the Jarvan just decapitates Lissandra, and he finishes 0-2-15, I think, was the final KDA or something. Like, it was extremely odd. Like, Jarvan top, that's like season 3 throwback.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Shy just did phenomenal against Lilac in that matchup, and just seeing these cool picks coming back is interesting. And then you see different item builds, like Maokai. You know, he's always been building Rod of Ages, right? In the first game with SKT, Marin built the new item, the Righteous Glory, which it gives the health mana, it gives 100% base health regen, and basically, you know, you get a small speed up. It's like Shirelia's if you're chasing someone, and then it slows them like Randuin's a little bit. It's a great item, and then you still see other people building Roa. So I just think all these different components were really interesting to see, and the actual gameplay, like strategy wise, honestly, a lot of the compositions and stuff, like, you know, Poke Siege, you know, team fight pick, like none of that's been radically changed. It's very much just the early game and the dragon control.
Yeah, everything got changed except bot lane. that's bot lane is remained
it's basically
the same.
Yeah,
they're
bot
like,
lane is.
They're like, changes everywhere except bot lane. You just keep doing you.
No. Corki just became a lot stronger because of the first. I think it's the first dragon buff where you get 8% extra AP and AD.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Yeah, Corki just became the best AD carry.
Played though. He's already highly contested.
Yeah. Right, but now there's a better reason to pick him, and champions that stack AD will get better benefits. Like, say Graves is a champion that you might get something like maybe 350, 400 AD on a full build. 8% extra AD, if you do the math, is like 32 extra damage, which is pretty decent considering that he has really good scaling. So anyone that might be hybrid building AP AD or just fully stacking one is going to get a buff. So that's why I think Corki Graves are like the 2 best AD carries right now. Maybe Sivir too, actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting sick of seeing Corki at the moment. I thought we'd seen the back of him for a while, but it's like Cody says, he seems to be the most hotly contested pick in that bot lane right now. Cody, you're a support main, so how are we feeling about support champs at the moment in 420?
Well, before this, we had Janna finally break into the scene again as like a pure support after her being like Mia for like 4 years, right? Which is awesome. I'm actually really happy about that, and I'm really happy that we have more of these pure supports coming in. Like Alistar came back and he's viable in some situations. If you just want to sustain, you want to tank support. Thresh has always been around. Nami's doing good, but the thing that really irks me about bot lane is that they nerfed caster supports, because that's where I live. I love me some caster supports, and Riot is just saying no dice on that. After they nerfed Frostfang again, it was just like, that's why you're not even seeing Morgana as much anymore either. It's because they just keep nerfing caster supports, and they want it just to be like these pure supports. But I kind of feel like that makes the role really linear, and it's not like, hey, we need this on the team, we need a little extra damage, or we need a tank, or we need an actual like real support, and it just kind of like linearizes it into, okay, just be a tanky healer kind of thing and just sit there. That's what I'm not really a fan of going this next season.
So I mean, we feel that 420 though, it's going to make it slightly more interesting, because this is what I'm worried about. I think the games were getting a little bit stagnant and stale. I mean, especially if you watch EU, which were.
I'm really sorry to interject, but just want to bring this up. It's really interesting that you said that caster supports are being robbed, because a lot of people are playing range supports, because taking the golems has returned. Like, blue side bot lane can now take double golems, maybe miss 1 or 2 creeps, and get a huge advantage in lane. And it's not possible to do them with melees because
they take
you just take too
much
damage from the double golems, but you can kite them properly with something like Nami.
Yeah.
Am I buffering?
When I refer to a caster support, I mean something more along the lines of like Morgana, your Karmas, your like offensive caster supports. I should have clarified a bit better.
Okay, but people like Nami and Thresh are probably going to be the 2 best. Like Nami, Thresh are the 2 best supports ever right now, and then Janna, like for sure, because they could do the double golems without taking any damage and come to lane with a fucking huge advantage and just shit on you, just like the old times were.
You gotta assume though that Riot will fix that at least coming up into the LCS season.
I
because,
really do hope.
I mean, like, how long did that go on? Where it's just like, oh, looks like blue side has the advantage again, Kobe. Like, they need to fix it, definitely.
And then what happened was
it'll force lane swap.
Yeah.
It'll force lane swap meta again.
And then the great race starts again.
Yeah, and so it'll go back to a lane swap. Then the 4-man push will come back. Then double jungle. Then back to standard. It's the never-ending cycle of League of Legends meta.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about, was just entertainment. I don't think people at home enjoyed the lane swaps to watch.
They're so boring. They're boring to watch. There's a lot that goes into
even
them,
boring
but
to
like,
play.
Yeah, I mean,
but like
on a technical level, obviously there's lots to appreciate, no doubt about it. But
like the casual fan's not going to enjoy it.
No, and this is what this has been one of the problems, I think, with recent patches. I think we've had a game that maybe requires some more kind of technical understanding, but actually isn't a very entertaining spectacle. I was watching some old games recently for a piece I'm working on, and they just felt so much better. And I wouldn't even say that's just because of nostalgia or whatever, but they just felt like they were more exciting. There was more comeback potential. Now they still feel like slogs. So is 420 gonna change that? Are we gonna see more exciting games?
I think there's a lot of potential to also just counter jungle by lane swapping, and we actually saw it yesterday, right? We had Lisa and we had Bengi start on the old golems, and Huya just walked into his red buff and started on his red. So forcing lane swaps can give you those small advantages. I think one of the cool things about League is one attraction that I got like when I started watching was when there weren't all these lane swaps, I could watch my favorite players lane against each other. You know what I mean? Like I could watch, like, if I wanted to see like Chaox and Double Lift duke it out, they would just be bottom, 2v2ing each other, Chouster Double Lift against Chaox special. But now some of that aura gets taken away from like the casual viewer, and these intricate strategies are coming in where it's like that. But in terms of the patch, I think it's going to be the same, just situational. Until a team finds a way to efficiently abuse the double golems bottom on blue side and starts getting done consistently, I think we'll be okay. Once that starts, we're going back to lane swaps.
And it's even more of a disadvantage for the purple side team because the dragon is such a big deal.
Dragon's huge,
yeah.
Blue side
like
OP, dude.
You get the first dragon, almost guarantees you get the second one, because you get a buff. And by the time that the second dragon comes, so you do the first dragon at like 6 minutes. By 12 minutes, you would have already built some items where you're starting to see maybe small instances where that 8% is going to be helping you. And that team automatically just gets a small advantage. Because Dragon doesn't give gold anymore, it just gives gold in the version of stats. You're getting what more stats. But, I mean, as a spectator sport, with all due respect, I couldn't care less if the game is enjoyable to watch because,
we should.
I mean,
You should. That's why we have jobs, dude.
I mean, in the short term, it's not a priority for me. Like that's Riot's priority. That's what they need to worry about. What as coaches we need to worry about is finding ways to abuse mechanics in the game that are open there. And that's not saying that we need to find those boosts that let us see 90% of the map. It's just to find the best way to win the game. And while
That's
it may be not necessarily, not scripts. No, the best abuse mechanics in the game that are there to that aren't seen. That's kind of our jobs as coach is to. Now, I wouldn't say make the game boring, just make the game as one-sided for a team as fairly possible.
Give your team the best chance to win the cleanest. And clean.
You just want to put your best foot forward going into every game, despite if there's something like the side golems, if you can use that and you can come to the lane at level 2, and that's on Riot to fix that.
That's their that's their responsibility. That's not something that anybody except them should worry about.
I do think though, like caring, just caring from a spectator standpoint, like man. When I first started watching League and I watched the Season 2 World Championship, that was like the first time I seriously started like focusing on the meta game and stuff, and I was watching lane swaps. I was like, man, if I wasn't like learning right now and like thinking, and I was just watching this for fun, this would be so awful. Because like people aren't going to understand the strategies behind it. The casters don't explain the strategies behind it. They keep it very casual, right? They don't say like, oh, Kale is a viable pick. They'll be like, oh, Kale is a... They don't argue the viability. They're like, oh, it's an off the wall pick. you know? Like they won't do those kind of things. So I think like just from spectator standpoint, that's it. But I agree, like our job, like these guys have already said, and you know, it's that find how to win the game in the cleanest way possible.
So yeah, I think we can move on, but you know, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it pans out. I mean, I didn't get an opportunity to watch the OGN games, but I'm always excited when a new patch is implemented, and you know, I want to see how these you know 420 games pan out, and I'm pretty hyped about the expansion tournaments. So let's talk NA. This is what everyone's been waiting for.
Remind me again, it's Fusion F5, right? That's the first match?
Fusion
F5, and then
Coast and Curse Academy. So let's bring Cody in. Talk about Coast. We said right at the start of the show, and again, not just sucking your dick because you're a guest, but I think Coast have probably looked overall the most clinical and strongest team for me. That's my opinion. I've been impressed with, you know, the other teams. I think that's a real strong four. But Coast have really looked just, you know, like so business-like when it comes to the games. How do you feel about the Curse Academy matchup? Because obviously, you know, you're as a coach, you've got a lot of ties to Curse. You've played with some of the players in that team, even in the form of your good friend Brandon. So
BFF.
Yeah, BFF. Well, actually, I want to ask about that. I mean, do you guys still talk? I mean,
we're fine with each other. It's just like I don't care enough to hold a grudge that long. Like I'm over it. Shit happens. Like I honestly, to really sum it up, if we weren't working together, we'd probably still be friends. That was probably it. We just worked together in the same place, see each other all the time, just butted heads. That's basically the end of that situation.
Yeah. But, so you versus Curse Academy. I mean, this is. You know, I've said it, like, for me, because Coast have invested so heavily, you guys have to be in LCS next season. I mean, you have to be. Like, I think, you know, it's kind of a parallel to the Game of Two situation, except you guys, you know, don't choke and aren't shit. Whereas, you know...
by that logic, Millenium should have won.
Huh? Yeah, right? Curse Academy as well. I mean, they played so well against CLG in the relegations, one game away from LCS.
Actually.
This is a great game. This for me, this matchup is a game where you would want to watch it in LCS anyway. So both teams are so strong, great players. Give me your thoughts about this.
Well, Curse Academy just picked up Cop too recently, and I still have a huge respect for Cop. I think he's, you know, despite his criticism, I think he's one of the most consistent AD carries in the scene. He's a great player, and I honestly think that just helps them. But overall, Curse Academy, you know, despite them being strong, despite them, you know, just being a team that's been around, has come close, has the fire under their asses that they, you know, they really want to make LCS too. I'm really confident in the Coast guys right now. They've shown crazy amounts of discipline when it comes to practicing, when it comes to taking criticism, and comes to taking feedback and actually putting it into their play. It's just been phenomenal. It's been a great experience to work with them so far. And as you said it, these guys have the drive to win right now, and I hope that just continues to push them through all the way to the top in the LCS. That would just be fantastic to have these guys keep pushing and keep wanting to win. But, you know, not to say anything, I have to agree with you. I think this is going to be a good game, and it would be a match that we'd want to see in the LCS, because these are two, you know, there's a lot of veteran players that used to be in the LCS too on these teams, and I think it's going to be a great series either way it goes.
I mean, I got to say, like, one of the things I theorized, it might have been last week or the week before, was that Coast coming into this game have these kind of clear motivations, because, you know, everyone's hyping, you know, Keen in the mid lane, and everyone's saying, and everyone's saying Jesus is trash because of how things went at Worlds. So obviously that's, you know, a big scalp, you know. And then you've got in the jungle, right, Impaler's been fucking wrecking everyone. His Rengar is absolutely disgusting. And, you know, then you've got, like, Saint Vicious, you know, the grandfather of every jungler ever created.
Curse Smurfs.
You know, Yeah, right. So I mean, is that a motivating like factor for your players? Like, are they saying, you know, we wanna prove to these people who have these bigger reputations that actually we're the better players individually?
Honestly, I don't think that factors in. We're just going by team basis, one step at a time. Here's the next goal, crush it. Here's the next goal. How do we win? That's the kind of the way we've been thinking about it as a team so far. And you know what? It doesn't even matter what anything on Reddit says or the hype or whatever. It comes down to look at all these teams. Look at Millennium, right? It doesn't even matter. Hype literally means nothing unless you can back it up, and that's all Coast is going to try to do.
So you two guys, Kubz, Ram. I mean, how do you see it panning out?
Hype is like Viagra for a guy with a small penis. Like, just because it like gives you a small boost.
I've heard in a long time.
I mean, it really is. Like,
who wrote that for you?
No one wrote that for me. No one wrote that for me.
Best analogy you've ever done in your life. You'll never top that, Ram. If you live for 1,000 years, you'll never top that.
You can die right now.
Yeah, hype is like Viagra for a guy with a small penis. Like, it's gonna help you get there, but you still have a small dick, and she's not gonna get off. Like,
these are better than any analysis. Way better than my analogies, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. You were fucking cows or whatever it was last week. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that one. But,
Speaking of penis, Yarnan's got a banana in his pants. Yeah. Like, legit a banana. Anyway, but like, yeah, they're but like, yeah, it's like they had a lot of hype coming around behind them, but that's not gonna matter. What's gonna matter is like who really shows up on that day, especially when you've got two teams that I think are really closely matched. I think that CA and Coast are really closely matched. Who wants it more? Like, we talked a lot about Coast being like the team that just has to get into LCS. Like, besides the fact that you think that spending money just says that how much you want it, I think that players just have a lot more to prove. And I wouldn't say that they've proved themselves, actually, I think, against teams like LoL Pro when they shit on them like super hard. But if we're going to talk about, like, I think that CA are, I would say, like, respectfully just better than LoL Pro in a lot of different ways. They haven't really proved themselves as a team against like a top team, but they've got a lot of, I would say, a lot of hype, but not necessarily hype, but they definitely look like they can make that step. And if anyone's gonna make LCS, I think it's gonna be Coast and CA. But on the other hand, you got CA, who literally were this close from knocking out CLG and getting into the tournament with arguably two weaker players. Like, they had Chris. They had Chris and Impactful. And with all due respect to either of these players, I think that their replacements, Cop and Hanser, are just better individually. No doubt. If they mesh better with the team, then CA as a team are gonna be a lot better. And they did show up really well against their game against Cole White, and kind of crushed that series and moved on. So we've got two teams that are pooling in with a lot of hype, with a lot of Viagra, but who's gonna last longer?
So many small dicks.
Yeah.
Rav, are you trying to tell us something right now? Like, are you?
It's like some insane cry for help. I think is like.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. It's all good.
In terms of hype, like, hype is hype, man. Who cares? Like, show up, win the game, and just do your job. Like, hype is what the fans want. They make it. If you do a Gamers 2 and do it yourself, well, you're just gonna look like an ass if you lose. So, actual gameplay. I know this is like really like odd to say about League of Legends, but it's just like I feel like whichever team wants it more is gonna win this game. And that's like a very traditional sports kind of message that a coach will give you, right? Like,
it's borderline cliche. I will say that to you.
Yeah, and it just feels like these teams are both so evenly matched. I honestly feel like whichever team wants it more, which players are going to make the most sacrifices between now and then to be at their best performance? Is someone gonna, maybe not get enough sleep, or is someone gonna go out and party? Like, which players are gonna make those sacrifices to get as much practice and as much preparation as they can to give them whatever edge? Because these teams on paper, man, they're pretty much bang on, and it's gonna come down to shot calling and just whichever team plays better. And
ultimately, though, I mean, my understanding of how the tournament works is they can obviously still both get through, right? So
yeah.
I mean, is that the end goal here? Like, is this game like
you want to go in as
exhibition match?
You don't want to lose the first match.
You don't want to lose because then you go into it's double a limb, right? Winning that gives you 2 chances. Winning that game gives you 2 chances. You can screw up once, and then you could go win the second one. Losing that game means you have to win two straight to win at that point. So
like think about it this way: you've climbed up so hard, had such a great tournament, put in so much effort, and then losing that first match means you've got to climb back up again. And that's demoralizing mentally, even if it doesn't super affect you super hard and tilt you. Say it's gonna be in your mind like, shit, we just made this climb and now we've got to battle against the odds.
It's also a pride thing, man.
Well,
it's
pride. Right. I think it can also go the other way though. I mean, I think a lot of times if you like smash your game 1 and you're like, yeah, we got this best 3. How many times? Even in the EU expansion tournament, we see him come back, lose the first game, win the next 2. It happens all the time. Like, people get big heads, or I honestly feel like people get more encouraged to win after they lose. That just seems to be the way it goes most of the time. I mean,
both sides of the coin kind of happen. If you win the first game, you kind of tend to win the next 2 as well if you've got the right mindset. That's kind of what happened with us. Against Coast, Complexity Black versus Coast. Like, we won the first game by like this close, and we humbled ourselves after that game and won the next game after that. And at the same time, easily could have been super cocky and lost the next 3 games. Both things can happen. But I think that both these teams are, I would say they have the right support staff. Like, I'm pretty sure that you talked about this potentially happening, right? Winning the first game and not throwing it away the next game. You're smart enough, obviously, to identify that this is a potential cause for failure, and you've obviously brought it up to them. And I think that both these teams have players who are experienced enough to identify this, and it won't necessarily happen. But losing, let's say, a close best of 5 will demoralize almost any team.
It's a terrible feeling.
And then you have to pick yourself up and be like, well, now we have to play again.
Picking yourself up after losing a best of 5 is completely different from actually losing the best of 5. Like, that's what most teams should do. Is like, you can be demoralized as long as you pick yourself up and find a way to motivate yourself. But all that we were saying is that losing that, it's gonna be fucking terrible for you. Like, you really want to win that first game. It almost guarantees you a spot.
I'm talking about the whole set, personally. You have to win the first set, which is what? It's best of 5s, right?
Yeah, so you have to win that first set, not the first game. The first best of 5.
You have to win that best of 5 for just pride and security to know that you can, like, you have 2 chances. And although, you shouldn't be like, oh, we can fuck around. At least you have that security a little bit, knowing, like, I'm going to give it my best now, and then I can give my best again if I absolutely have to. So I think that's really huge. And then on the other thing, with that series, that bot lane matchup is going to be really interesting to watch because Sheep is single-handedly just like put the fucking team on his back and carries, man. Yeah. Like, that guy is really good at what he does. And the fact like he didn't get, a tryout for even TSM or something is just like mind-boggling to me when I watch how he plays. And then you have Bunny and Cop on the other side, and Cop is someone who loved playing with Bunny, and they have this great synergy. So that bot lane matchup is going to be really interesting to watch and see if they're just going to 2v2 or if all the jungle pressure is going to be allocated. I'm really curious to see how each team will allocate their jungle pressure.
I mean, I've been super critical of Cop in the past, as I think most League of Legends pundits kind of are. I mean, like, I think I've seen some people say he's the definition of average, which I think that's probably going a little bit too far. But for me, it's how passive he plays in lane. And, I've talked to some of the supports that have played alongside him. They've said it's particularly frustrating because they don't feel he's aggressive enough. This was something that X Special backed up on the recent Summoning Insight he did. Where he said there were times where I'd call, like, turn around, let's go aggressive, and we can get a double kill, and Cop just wouldn't do it. He wasn't feeling it. So, but he looks a very different prospect in this tournament, and he's playing alongside a great support, with the best Thresh in NA. And I'd like him to become the player that he's kind of teased that he's going to be for a while. That if he can just become aggressive and have that self-belief, I think Cop can be a great player.
I think Sheep might have something to say about the whole best Thresh comment.
Well, look, no, but I think Bunny is he has a limited pool. I think his Thresh is stronger, but I think Sheep is probably his overall the better support. That's how because I think he's got a wider range of champions. I think that's I think that's probably how I'd sum it up. Speaking as someone who knows fuck all about the game, that's how I'd sum it up.
The question, okay, so that series happens, right? Is there any reality Final 5 beats Fusion in a best of 5? Because I feel like there's potential to get like the first, like let's say they win the first game.
I'd say like 3-1.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. I could see a game, maybe 2, but like, do we see them winning 3 times against Fusion? Because
if Fusion's on their game, I don't think so. Fusion's also another strong team out there. They've been proving themselves that they, definitely are contenders, and they are taking this seriously. I mean, this is the most serious I've ever seen Nintendo about something, and he's, putting in his all, and he's honestly performing way better than he ever has. So, and Macnoon came in, he's a little rocky at the start, but he's solid. I mean, he carried those games on a real off suit champ, and everyone's like scratching their head like this guy's like 1v5 and it doesn't even matter. So it's like, and
the Scion and Poppy picks are just the next level, dude.
The America war cry and just goes in.
You don't want to necessarily take away from Final 5, but like at the same time, Fusion's just on point right now. In terms of new quality teams coming into the LCS for this expansion tournament, I think this is the best pool of talent that North American Challenger teams have had in a very long time.
I want to bring up a point and say that, as well, and we got accused of circle jerking last week, but now that you're here, Cody, hopefully we won't be accused of it. And that was, I thought Nintendo played probably maybe the best game I've ever seen him play. Like, I thought he's just fucking godly, man.
It's a shocker. It's a shocker how good you can play when your mid laner actually talks to you, like it's amazing what that can do for you. All memes aside, though, like I think that Josh, especially in the Jarvan game, set up a lot for the team, but it was like Macnoon who really stole the show.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, especially considering in the first game of that series, they did all they could to shut Macnoon down. They camped his lane. I think he went like 1 for 4 in the laning phase, and that was when it was unbelievable how well he played across the series.
I think one of the unsung heroes is Nian, though. I thought Nian played immaculately well, especially with Chunky as a support. Like, he died, I think, once in both games. Had an amazing KDA, and while he didn't make any super flashy plays, he came ahead in lane, positioned well in team fights, and made almost no mistakes. Like, he died once. I think that was the only mistake that he made in 2 games. So if you really think about the dynamic of the team, you got an aggressive top laner, a jungler that knows how to pressure early, who has good synergy with a mid laner who can play a large variety of champions, and an AD carry that can get ahead in lane consistently and play safe in team fights well. Like, the dynamic of that team, it looks good. Like, it could clearly work really well, and I think that as they move on, I think that they have the advantage over Final 5, but Final 5 have a potential to upset like they've done before.
I mean, it was interesting because before the tournament, when we were on the off air actually it was, but before we did the show, Josh was saying he felt Final 5 were the real dark horses. They were the ones that were going to surprise everyone.
Look, they surprised us. They're at the LAN.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And, I thought like they definitely brought a lot to the table. I think it's inconceivable that they could beat Fusion, but I know Fusion aren't going to be going into this game treating it like it's a free pass, and they absolutely shouldn't. I mean, I want to just talk about some of the players in Final 5. I mean, Ram has sat here and been such a huge fan of Shorter Race.
Big fan.
Their mid laner is Gate, right? Gate is the mid laner.
Gate,
I was surprised. Like we talked about against Cole Black. There are like other circumstances, but like his performance to get even like a solo kill on Probably, like even one, and just like have those laning phases against someone who is a bona fide LCS mid laner and he probably statistically was the strongest mid laner in North America in the first 10 minutes of every game. When you look at all the stats, KDA, gold per minute, CS, etc., probably was the strongest. And Gate went in there and he did extremely well. And for me, that was really shocking. And I think that, to me, that was like, holy shit, this guy can play.
Yeah.
You know? And so if he could do that again, like maybe it's not a one, hopefully it's not a one-time thing. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's a consistent thing he can build off of. And then that could give them the tools they need to maybe do something. Because if he can like get kills in the mid lane or, you know, pressure side lane to his Twisted Fate or whatever, they have a chance. But albeit not a very high one. I'd say 15%, 20%.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I don't know, Cody, what do you think? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, well, I mean, my initial thought, as I said, if they're going to win a game, I think the series would go 3-1. As I said, I think Fusion is just the stronger overall team. I don't think it really matters how the individual laning phases go, unless like Fusion gets absolutely smashed on laning phases. I think it's almost like, you know, like the G2 thing. Like, just because they do good in laning phase doesn't mean they transitions into a good team fighting or good communication or good objective control. And that's where I think Fusion's going to shine over them.
And just one thing I did want to highlight was, I mean, we mustn't wax too lyrical about Final Five, because there was a player that really stood out as being, you know, not so great, and that was the Rule 18 in that bot lane. I think
he was he was the Janna, right? He was the Janna.
Yeah, he was the Janna who died like 9-10 times. But also, not only that, you know, I mean, the bot lane for me feels like the weak area in Final Five. You know, Prototype is a good AD carry, but it was like that when they read the stats out in the tournament. Well, when I say good AD carry, he's a good Vayne.
He takes exhaust, and you can never convince me that's what you should take on an AD carry. But he makes it work, man. So I don't know. It's debatable that he's a strong AD carry, but hell, it's worked this long.
I said
like,
good.
Who knows, right?
Strong. And the thing is as well, that this is his problem. He's fairly one-dimensional. I think, you know, if he gets a Vayne, he'll do well. You know, Vayne exhaust, it's strange, but he makes
Heard it here first. Fusion ban Vayne.
Yeah, like, they read out the stats in the tournament, and it was like he had something like 1,500, 1,600 games on Vayne.
He outfarmed
and Kate was like 500 or something, and then so Jinx was 500, and then Kate was 150. So it's like
his Vayne
ban Vayne, ban Lee Sin. Ban Vayne, ban Lee Sin, and you're good.
Please, and you know what? Like, after that series, let's say Fusion wins, we're gonna see a hell of a game between Fusion and whoever wins or loses between Coast and Curse Academy. So I feel like if the bracket goes that way, like for me personally at least, I feel like we're gonna see like Coast and Curse Academy into the LCS, and that sucks. I want Fusion to make it, man. Like Josh is like a really good friend, and you know I love Glebe and all those guys. Are like, man, it's so hard. I want all three of those teams, but I'm gonna say Coast and Curse Academy get in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's just a shame in a way, because I think for the first time, NA Challenger is like actually strong.
Worth talking about.
Yeah, exactly what I was gonna say. It is worth talking about, and whichever one of these three top teams that we can see there, you know, Curse Academy, Coast, and obviously Fusion, whoever misses out on LCS, it's going to be a huge blow for them. It could potentially impact on their future long term. You know,
didn't Fusion say that they were, even if they messed it up or something happens they don't make it, they were going to try for the full year regardless?
Yeah, they said they were going to try for the full year. I mean, I think that's an easy thing to say.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, at the start of a tournament,
easier to said than done.
Yeah, when you're not watching fucking that money just fly out your bank account and Riot aren't popping it up, you know, I think it's very easy to say, fuck it, yeah, we'll do a full year. Then it's like, what? Holy shit, I'm renting like a fucking 8-bedroom house in California. Fuck this. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah,
like, you know, kidding. So, but I'm not saying Fusion would say that, but you know, it's a hell of an investment. And when you don't make it in LCS, and we've seen this before, you know, what happens to teams that aren't in LCS? Like, look at Team Marn, you know, and just all the sort of drama around that, you know, when
complexity.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know, it's real fucking hard. The road is hard if you're not in LCS. So I think it's going to be a huge shame. I kind of agree with you guys. I think it's going to be Coast and Curse that make it through. I think Fusion are just lacking a little bit. I think, you know, bringing in Chunky isn't ideal. I think he's obviously a great utility player, but I think coming up against Curse and Coast, who've got very comfortable LCS experienced players pretty much in every position, I think Fusion just lack a little bit, even with that Mac Noon factor. So
I do hope Fusion sticks through. Like whichever team doesn't get in, like one of those three. I hope they stay in the next Challenger Series, just crush it and get in for the next split, or at least have the. I hope they at least give it one more split. But I don't know. That's just how I feel. I feel like there's so much talent right now between like all the NA's things, and it's becoming more like, you know, players are being imported to Challenger. Organizations are putting more money for it. It's becoming very legitimate now to get into Challenger and NA. So I think that's something that these teams should consider. Yeah, it's growing the scene immensely, and so I think that's like the biggest thing. Is I hope they stick around.
Yeah.
But
so let's move on. I mean, I think the NA expansion. I'm actually hyped about it. I got hyped before the tournament. I got de-hyped after I watched those first games. Yeah, I did. Exactly. I did. My little chubby was raging.
I heard hype helps for that.
Yeah, 2 inches
does
of
Viagra,
blue steel. But you know, I got de-hyped and then I'm hyped again. This those 4 teams playing each other is going to be really exciting. The rest of the tournament's going to be a blast, and I'm really looking forward to it. But another tournament I'm going to be looking forward to, segue-tastic, is of course IEM San Jose, which is just round the corner. It's great to see IEM back.
Wait a second. Why are you hyped for that? Didn't you get dropped off the roster there?
I did. I got dropped. It's interesting actually. I think when I was first approached, there was maybe talk of me being on the league desk. I said, like, are you being fucking serious? Like, because first of all, I couldn't believe Riot would even allow that. Like, the idea of being allowed to talk about their game in an official capacity, like, it would have just been, what's that red dot on my chest? Boom, there you go. And that's the end of Richard Lewis. But then I said, if you do that, I think it could potentially overshadow the tournament, because I'd just get a lot of hate anyway, and it would kind of spoil it. And then it was like, okay, well, you can do StarCraft. Those guys love you. So we were like, okay, cool, we'll do StarCraft. And then this thing with Joe and Deman happened, and I had to make choices. Like, I think the best thing, like, if I could go back in time, the best thing to have done would have just been to publish the story and sort of keep my fingers crossed that it didn't piss IEM off. But
don't do something before IEM to piss them off, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. But it's like, equally, I got the day job to think about. I got to go and publish the news, right? So, I can't let freelance work get in the way of that. So it was hard. It was fucked up. I didn't like the way Riot basically made that. They pushed ESL into breaking the agreement. I thought that kind of, as I said, I thought that was petty. Community obviously don't share that opinion. I think that's maybe a little bit of naivety on their part about how
they
these
don't
things
understand journalism. That's all.
Yeah.
You have to remember the community, right? Like, everyone on the internet is an expert, Richard. Everyone's an expert on the internet, right? Like, there's people in Twitch chat right now and Reddit who are experts, and they should be coaching the TSMs and CLGs, but they just never got their break. You know what I mean? So it's like if the community says one thing, that's different, right? But it's like
I see it all the time. Like, when I did my first year college class, and I took a module in journalism. They said you always have to do it this way, and it's like, how many things do you learn about in theory that actually operate that way in practice? Like, it just doesn't work like that. But yeah, so it was kind of. It was a stupid drama. It's been a shit couple of days, because I got back from DreamHack with like fucking LAN AIDS as well, as you can probably tell. I just so fucking sick.
The worst type.
Yeah, the worst type of AIDS, like the AIDS you catch at gaming events when everyone all over the world congregates and brings germs you've never been exposed to, and your immune system's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I've never encountered like North American germs. I've never encountered like Korean germs. And you just fucking like die for like a week afterwards. So
now that got
Yeah,
that
so
out of the way.
it was a bit of drama, but I gotta say, you know, like there's no hard feelings like to any of the other talent that's out there. I'm super hyped about IEM having a League of Legends again because I think that's been sorely missed actually.
I
Um,
gotta check that.
I always enjoyed the IEM events when I went to them as
They're
press.
fantastic. Oh my god, they're so
So-
fun to watch.
IEMs and IPLs are sorely missed. I'll tell you that.
IPL, man, IPL 4. Oh, that was the
All
dream
of the IPLs
tournament.
were just unreal.
Mhm.
Favorite tournaments.
So yeah,
We're
so I mean, we've got a list of teams here. I'm guessing we all know them, but just for the benefit of the viewers, I'll read the teams that are in attendance at San Jose. So obviously, there's a little team you might have heard of called TSM. We've
Who?
got Cloud.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, they've just blown up overnight, I think. We've got Cloud9, obviously Alliance, Unicorns of Love, which you know, I mean, no disrespect, I'm still baffled that they're there, but there you go. Unicorns of Love are there. With their lovely logo. Pain Gaming and Lion Gaming, even though it's spelled Leon, it is
Leon.
Yeah,
Leon.
it's apparently it's Lion.
So that's what, 6 teams? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we see this all going? I mean, everyone was kind of hyped to see NA versus EU again. That's always a big talking point. But actually, I don't think EU have necessarily sent out the best representatives. Alliance are going through a big period of change. I'm being told by my spies they're getting wrecked in scrims, which, you know, while they're trying out new things and new team comps. Unicorns of Love obviously went instead of other teams like SK. SK Gaming.
Fan vote. That's because of the fan vote, though.
Yeah,
you know?
because they won the fan vote. I mean, on the one hand, because SK didn't have a roster, an announced roster, but everybody knew it was going to be What the Fox and fucking Forgiven. So you know,
I thought that was kind of cool though that the fans did that and voted Unicorn. That's what I love about gaming. It's like that's such a troll name, and people are just like gonna vote it. But I do think from a performance standpoint,
awesome. So there you go. Team Post change your name to
they're definitely
from a
going to be voted
performance
in.
standpoint,
Raging Hard Dicks. Team Raging Hard Dicks has just been formed.
From a professional
Landslide vote,
standpoint,
99% to 1.
you need to vote on a professional side. Yeah, you know what? Maybe they're not like the top team.
RHD.
No, this you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Mountain Dew did like a contest for their name and 4chan got wind of it and they just voted the most obscene names to the top. I think the first one was like Hitler did nothing wrong, and then number 2 was something like gushing grannies. Like that's probably gonna remind me of if a team decides to let the fans vote. We're gonna get like another number 1 of Hitler did nothing wrong.
Okay,
Well, that's also what happens when
HDNW, man, HDNW.
I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back to seriousness. I do have like on each team, I have like a small tidbit. I guess I'll start. So TSM, the biggest thing to me with them, they're still probably considered the strongest team going, or at least one of obviously the top 2. The biggest thing is obviously Santorin coming in. How is he going to perform in his first like professional LAN, basically? Is he going to live up to amazing? You know, how is he going to synergize with the team on the new patch, etc. Yeah. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how he fits into the team after only being with them for about 2 months now. You know, when you look at Alliance, Reckles, Nif, how is that bot lane going to synergize together?
Yeah.
Right? Like, is that going to be the bot lane that people look at and are like, that is a world-class bot lane? Or are people going to look at it and be like, man, if only that was Crepo instead? You know what I mean? Like, how are they? Go ahead.
It's not just that. There's just going to be a lot of hate if Alliance's bot lane doesn't succeed because of all the drama that's been about Reckless moving to Fnatic, about how he's like a so-called traitor. Like, the spotlight's on them to perform. Yeah. How dare he join a team that he wants to join? Like,
don't even get me started on that dumb shit, guys. It will be
but I mean that's I think that's generally the brunt of the criticism that's gonna go. Like, I guess part of it's gonna be like people don't think that Nif can be as good, but on top of that, it's just that Reckless made the swap on a team that's gonna that should be able to win. Are they gonna win?
And yeah, I'm curious to see how that bot lane does, because like Nif is not considered by many to be like the strongest support maybe, but I think Nif has his moments where he shines and he's a really good player. Like I said, but if they don't do well, I think people are going to start calling for the head of Nif and want Crepo to.
Oh well, there's no doubt. I mean, look, this is why I think there's a slight. I slightly disagree with the points you've made, but only slight, and it's a little tweak, and that is that I think if anything goes wrong with that bot lane, actually, Reckless will still be treated like, you know, a descendant of Christ. I don't think that's going to change. But everyone will blame Nif. So if Reckless underperforms for whatever reason, it's Nif who's going to cop the blame. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that'll happen. I actually think Nif and Reckless will synergize quite well. Based on their play styles. But if it doesn't work for whatever reason, you know what it's like. Popular players get a pass. Unpopular players don't. Yeah, so it's
the
Nif.
Next one.
Nif's got the pressure. Nif's got the pressure for me, not Reckless.
Okay. So then there's the most interesting one from NA. Cloud9. They've been so quiet on the front of like anything. Like no one.
They're on
like
vacation though. After
Worlds.
Worlds.
They were on vacation after Worlds. They streamed a little bit. I know they've been scrimming again, and like just from what I've kind of been talking to people about, they haven't been looking so hot in the scrims. So all I'm curious about with C9, you know, which C9 are they going to show up and be like the world class C9 like they always are when it comes to these events, or are they going to show up and be like, we just took like a 2-month vacation. We're here to have, you know, we're just here. We practice for a week. So I'm just curious to see which C9 is going to be there. I'm very sure it's going to be the C9 that like is going to kick ass. But it's been really cool to me that they've just been so kind of on the DL, you know, and we haven't seen them for a while, so we're finally going to see the return of them.
Someone was giving me a theory about why they think Cloud9 has kind of effectively been nerfed. I won't name who it was. It was someone everyone would know in League of Legends, and they said that they felt Cloud9 had been stop guessing. So they said they felt Cloud9 had been nerfed because of the coaches thing. That coaches were allowed to pick bans phase now, and that's where Lemonation really excelled and really shone. And now having that extra party there was actually kind of a bit of a nerf to Cloud9's one of their strengths, the pick and ban phase.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that, because if you have a bunch of coaches and you have a bunch of people already helping you, you should already go into that game knowing exactly what you wanted to pick regardless. You know, just despite having, you know, one of these around doesn't make you some sort of godly team that can just get through every pick and ban phase, you know.
I just think
notepad? it is. So got lines and everything, but I think I think that if you don't have your pick and bans down before the game, it's like you're supposed to be a professional team, right? Shouldn't you already know what you're going to pick and what you want to be playing going into this team? I just think Cloud9's strength is the fact that the champions they prioritize are usually the ones not necessarily prioritized by other teams. Like Lemon Nation has always had a pool of champions that's been a little, you know, offset. Like when they first brought in like Ashe Zyra, everyone was like, like their minds like exploding, and no one else played it. Same with like Zac. Literally, I watched Meteos carry the entire split of just fucking blobbing on people, and no one else played Zac. So it's like, well, is it really the fact that the coaches are doing anything or anything? No, not really. I think it's just the fact that Cloud9 is just a very smart team and a very smart organization overall.
I mean, they also have a really good coach too, so that's only going to help them.
Charlie's brilliant, dude.
Charlie's really good. So I think that might just counteract your claim that, like, you can have a lot of coaches behind you, but if they're shit like me, then it's not going to help, you know? Like, if you've got Kubz behind you, then you might as well just FF the game, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I thought this was Dota 2 or Han, man. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, what I definitely see that this thing is going to add is if you've got someone competent behind you, it's just going to give another perspective and kind of just, what's the word I'm looking for?
If you have an
outsider's view.
Not necessarily just outsider's view, just round out any holes in your game plan for the pregame. Like your pre-game plan with someone there, like a sixth person, should be spot on, because that sixth person doesn't have to worry about playing the game. He can worry about everything else. So like all each individual player has to worry about is their pick and how they want to play the game. And that sixth guy is going to remind them, all right, you know, look at this comp. What do we want to do? He can get them rolling. And at the end, it'll be up to the team to take it away and take it off. But if you've got someone smart who knows how to stimulate a team to get the right mindset before a game, then they're going to succeed well. And I think that C9 actually aren't going to get nerfed. They're going to get buffed because of it, because Charlie has just genuinely been good at doing that. You know, he's been successful. Yeah, he's
You got
been
a good
successful
five.
so far.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, no, sorry, Elements. Go for
Yeah,
it.
I'm just agreeing with you. I just think C9 is going to get better too. I don't think they're not going to get nerfed. I think they're already strong as a 5-man unit, and adding in their coach to help them even get through that is going to be, just the same. Granted, other teams will also get better, but I don't think we're going to see a nerf C9 whatsoever.
So C9 is interesting. NA, these 3 teams, I think these are like the 3 best teams, or the 2 best teams, sorry, TSM C9, to be at this event, over anything else. It's on home turf. People are going to want NA to win. This is our best chance. And then for Europe, there's Alliance, then the Unicorns of Love, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. I mean, everyone's going to want the American teams to win. I don't know if Alliance coming in the best of shape. They've
been boot camping here, right? So they've been in
they've been in an A. There's no excuses about jet lag or anything like that. But they're trying out new things. They're trying to embed a new player. They're trying to come up with new team comps. Like I say, I don't think scrims have been going particularly well for them. I mean, Unicorns of Love are whipping boys. Frankly, I think Pain Gaming, I'd probably put them above.
Well, okay. My thing is, are the Unicorns of Love just a throwaway team, Broken, or could they be the real deal? What do you think? Because I'm legitimately at this point where I'm looking at their team and watched how they play, and I'm like, this team might have potential, or they just lucker dogged into the LCS. I'm really not sure if they are the real deal. Or...
I think in a standard sense.
Can you tell the children to go to sleep?
Yeah, 1 sec. Can you guys shut the fuck up for 10 seconds? Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
I like the way he sounded like he was going to be real tactful there. Guys, could you just shut the fuck up? Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Do you mind just shutting the fuck up?
Just shut the fuck up. I think that when they play unconventional picks, they have an advantage of being able to pull that stuff. Oh my fucking god! I just need 10 seconds. God damn it, Yarden. Anyway,
it's just that to all the girls.
Yeah.
Hype. He's building hype.
Popping that by
accident. Oh my god.
You brought this on.
I do think that I don't think that UOL are going to be a strong team at IEM. When I was on G2, when we were scrimming them, they didn't look so hot in scrims. But I don't think that they have much pressure coming into the event. So they might try to pull out some really interesting shit. And that's kind of where they have their strengths from, is pulling out unconventional picks. And that's kind of their strengths, like Vizichachi with his Poppy Topper, or other stuff that he might pull out. He did Yorick in the promotion playoffs as well.
Which
unconventional, I think is the name of the game.
Yeah, it'll be hugely entertaining. He's like the
Trolls of EU, basically.
Yeah, it'll be hugely entertaining, but they've got no chance of winning any games. It's I just, no disrespect to the team, but I'm not sold on them as being competitive among all of those teams.
So they're like the team we're all kind of agreeing. Cody, I don't know, what do you think? Because
well, as we saw, I think as Richard said, I don't think they put their best foot forward when it came to North America's got the North American world teams, and then it's Europe's we got some teams too. It might not be. It's probably not the most accurate representation of each region, and
the fanboys will be NA number 1, Kappa, So
I mean, obviously, and that's always going to happen. With the popularity of League of Legends and the population of it, how many idiots are out there? You're going to get a lot of people who's going to obviously say that stuff. But in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But I don't really see them doing that good though. Overall, no. Probably not.
So let's just quickly talk. I want to talk about Pain Gaming. I've had the pleasure to meet some of the guys in Pain going way back. And they've been an organization that's been on my radar for a while. It's good to see them kind of back on top. In the Brazilian scene. Do we think these guys? Do we rate this team?
I mean,
They're the ones with 2 Koreans on their roster, right?
Yeah, I can never pronounce the names. It's
okay, so
T and
the thing about Pain,
Ollie something, Ollie.
Ola, yeah.
Ola is how it's pronounced.
I don't know. Ola, something.
Lactia.
Ola?
And is it Lactia?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we can.
I thought it was just Lactia, but if it's Lactia, that's a bit too close to lactate.
Lactia would be great.
That's just kind of gross. Like
lactose.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ram.
I think that I'm lagging as fuck right now. Actually, just go on without me. Go on.
Right.
I'll just look pretty.
Richard,
I can't hear what any of you are saying.
Okay, sorry, Captain Oates. He's made the supreme sacrifice. I'm going outside. I may be some time. Rest in peace. So, Cody, I mean, you know all about Brazilians. So
I do. I am obviously an expert.
Yes, that's why we brought you on, actually.
Honestly, I haven't watched much of their scene, and I haven't paid too much attention to them. I can only hope for the best. Honestly, what you would like to see at this is that they actually do have a really great performance, and they actually do put their foot under the scene and go, hey, you know what, we're another region. We're not to be, trifled with. We're not to be, like, oh, whatever. Like, on the last bracket, as Twitch chat puts all the regions in, you don't want to be that region, right? So hopefully they can actually do that, because especially actually with Japan coming in too, the announcement over there, like if this just keeps growing and regions continues to get better, even with the prospects they brought in as the 2 Korean players, like honestly, I think it'd be amazing to see like another upset like we had at Worlds.
Yeah, I'm very like I'm of the opinion that it's not about if they win or lose, it's how close are they to the region, right? Like when they play against NA, is it going to be a uncomfortable, 20-minute stomp fest, or are they going to put up a fight where it's like, it went to 30 minutes, it's still pretty quick, but I mean, damn, like it was a fight, and that to me is the biggest thing. Like I think Pain Gaming compared to Leon Gaming has a better chance, and the reason for that is Leon has to use Teammates bot lane. Maple Street and Dodo are subbing in to Leon Gaming's bot lane because of visa issues. So that's already a very dysfunctional thing, right? Like they've never played together. They needed people and teammates being awesome and sending it their bot lane, but it's like that's not going to work. It's going to be very difficult for them to synergize in, a week or 2. So I definitely hope Pain has a good performance, and it just shows everyone like, the BR, Mordekaiser #1, like all those jokes just like,
Well, Kaboom have already kind of, buried them.
If Alliance plays Pain, I'm going to be watching that game very, very closely.
Like the second Pain gets like a kill, the chat is going to go fucking ballistic.
Yeah.
If they get like first blood on like some level 1 cheese, pause the game and just like get out of your chair and leave.
It's like it's happening.
So let's talk about winners then for this tournament. I mean, look, for me, I think there's always a kind of degree when I look at tournaments like this. I kind of think, when they're going to put the bracket out and all of that, and when they're going to do groups or whatever, they're going to try and manufacture great potential games. It's not necessarily going to be random. They're going to look to create the game that's going to get the highest amount of viewers, that's going to get the spectators pumped, that's going to make for the biggest story. I think everyone kind of does that to some extent to esports. I'm not saying it's completely rigged or anything, but I'm saying, if you can put aside a team on this side of the bracket or that side of the bracket, and if you do that, there's a potential for them to both meet in the final, and it's amazing. I think a lot of tournament organizers will do that and then just pretend it was random, whatever. But How do we see this going? Like, who's going to win? What's the final we'd like to see?
C9 TSM.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing.
So you think it's better for TSM and C9 to be in the final than, say, TSM Alliance or C9 Alliance?
Okay,
that's what's going to happen.
I also think that's what's going to happen. I also think that that's the potentially biggest rematch ever, because if we're thinking recently, TSM beat C9, and now they have a new jungler. They have Santorin, and hopefully that he can live up to that hype. I actually just think that's going to be the finals. I think that C9 TSM are going to be the 2 teams to make it there. I can't really guess who will win because I don't know how well Santorin's going to mesh with the team. As well, there's also a new patch to learn.
First make a plan for him.
Yeah, honestly, I would just love to see Pain just take it, but
I mean,
realistic,
Pain Gaming
awesome.
they ascend to the heavens. I don't know. For me, I think if we want a true representation of NAE, the closest we'll get of NA versus EU, and I would love to see in the finals, is Alliance and Cloud9, because Cloud9 has had the same roster of 5 North American players since they got in, right? TSM is a North American team. They're a North American organization, but they have like what, 3 imports, I want to say, with jungle, mid, and support. So they're not like, it's not the same kind of NA versus EU feel, if you kind of understand what I'm saying, right? Like that very much feels like it's still NA versus EU, but the Cloud9 is like 5 NA guys, and then Alliance is 5 EU guys. And I would love to see that final. But in reality, I think we're going to see Cloud9 TSM rematch. And that's still, man, that is still...
Just looking at the bracket, how it has to work. I mean, TSM are as good as in the final, in my opinion. Because TSM, obviously, they have the wild card, and then it's, Lion Gaming or Leon Gaming, whichever one, and Unicorns of Love. So it's like, Freelo, baby. They're in the final, no matter what happens. Alliance can have to play C9. All pain.
I have one question, Ram. Like, why are they giggling so much because like they're like looking at each other's like
finish the sentence.
Like, are they just like looking down each other's pants and just laughing at?
No, I think they're watching the stream, and one thing you should know about H2K is that they're like the biggest fucking memers in the fucking world. Like Lulex literally just says hashtag well met all the fucking time. Käften din av Jafita. No, like they're just fucking laughing at each other. Like they're looking at Yarnan's face and like, damn, that's one ugly fuck. And laughing.
Just like comparing bananas with each other or something. Like...
No, they legit took all the bananas and put it down their pants. Like there's no more bananas left. Like, what am I gonna eat now?
If we can get away from bananas down the pants, because in Britain we've had some new porn regulations introduced.
I read about that.
That's most likely banned, Ram. You better watch.
Yeah, rest in peace, fisting. It'll be sorely missed, exactly, with the emphasis on sorely. Anyway, let's get back. So I mean, TSM Cloud9 final. I mean, let's say it happens. So who wins that game?
What do you
why?
You think?
Cody, I think. I'm sorry. Go for it, Cody.
Yeah,
Wait,
Cody.
I was looking at the Twitch chat when you said the first 2 teams. Which 2 teams?
The finals.
SMC finals.
Finals. Yeah.
Let's presume C9 beat Alliance, which I think, that's probably going to happen. I think, I'm inclined to back that view. So let's say it's a C9 TSM final, because TSM are definitely in the final. Who's going to win and why?
I still have. I'm gonna give it to C9. I just always loved the way they play, the way they execute it, and they've just they're like the truest team of like North America. They've been the 5 guys forever. They honestly, they were like a nothing team for like a year and a half. Going through the trenches to come up, and the fact that they're still together, they're still one of the best, if not the best team in North America. I'm just gonna give it to them because of the overall synergy. Despite if they're losing scrims or whatever like that, those guys have always shown up to play, and they've always done better overall than TSM.
I think they have a chip on their shoulder too. This is the first time since they've been a professional team. They're not the top team technically in North America. TSM took that crown back.
So now, technically, yes.
Mm-hmm. So C9 has this chip on their shoulder. Like, you know what? No, we want, like, I feel like they're such a competitive group. They want to be the best team in NA, They want to be the best NA team. So I definitely, I could see this series, and I'm going to assume it's just a best of 3. I haven't looked at, I don't know if it's on the bracket. I'll assume it's a best of 3.
Yeah, I think it's best of 3.
I think it'll go 2-1 C9. And
that's
I think
no, the finals best of 5. Sorry, actually.
Okay, it's going 3-2 C9. Then it's going to 3. It's going to 5. Then if grand finals is 5, it'll go to game 5, and I truly think C9 will be able to take this just because they've been together longer. Their chip on their shoulder is just bigger than TSM's chip right now, right? Like they have more to prove than TSM does, right? The only person on TSM who has a lot to prove right now is Santorin. Right, C9 has to prove that they still are the top team, so they just have more to play for.
Ram, thoughts?
Yeah. I still think that the only real contenders for the title would be TSM C9 and maybe Alliance. Did you say that Alliance and C9 were on one side, TSM on the other?
Yeah. So C9 and Alliance will almost certainly meet in the semi-final unless Pain Gaming go huge against Cloud9. TSM get to play Unicorns of Love or Leon Gaming in the semis, so they're as good as in the final. So what we're talking about is if it is a Cloud9 and TSM final, who's going to win?
I think there's potential for it to both happen for Alliance TSM and C9 TSM for the final, but I think those are the only realistic combinations that we'll see. I think the real question isn't who's going to be in the finals, how Alliance C9 is going to match up. The last time that they met, they went 1-1 in the World's group stage, and both games were one-sided towards the other team. Like in one game, C9 won it was really one-sided to them. Then Alliance won being one-sided. So from what we know internationally, they are very even. But now Alliance is a new roster and a new patch. I think that we were saying that C9 TSM is a potential final. I think that Alliance can take that game. I think it's about as even as can get. Like C9 Alliance could go either way. I don't know much about Alliance support staff though. I think is going to be the big thing, and I said that a lot during Worlds. Was Alliance versus TSM is going to rely a lot on whose support staff is better prepared, because they had Leviathan versus Charlie and. No, Charlie. It's for Alliance.
Sorry. C9. Yeah, sorry.
So I don't know much about Alliance's support staff right now, but we know that C9 has a very reliable one. So I think it's going to come down to if Alliance got the proper support staff to replace Leviathan to get them prepared for the 420 patch with Reckless as well.
420, baby.
Okay, well, look, guys, I think that's good. I think it's a good place to wrap up. So what I'll do is, first of all, I will say thanks to my rapidly becoming regular co-hosts. We've got obviously Kubz. Thanks for coming on, dude, and filling in for Josh. Ram. What? Someone's going to say something?
Actually,
one day, Richard. Go ahead, Ram.
Next week's show is going to be the 10th show, right?
Yeah, we've done it. We've got over the line the 10 shows, bro.
So we did it, boys. We did it, Reddit. No.
Please no.
Next week's show is going to have a big surprise for those who are going to tune in. So this is a hype. It's like Viagra for your Twitch chat.
Yeah, the big surprise is we're going to get through a show without anyone's internet dropping. That's how we're going to celebrate the 10th show.
So I would just like to say, Richard, I am announcing my retirement from First Blood. I will never come back on this show.
Oh, no.
So for the last 3 episodes, it's been a fun ride, but all great things must come to an end, and I'm really going to miss this great crew, But seriously, this is the end, Richard. It's been fun.
Look, you'll be back. They always come back. I'll be.
You'll be back.
You'll fucking
drop out.
Yeah, you'll fucking poke me and be like,
"Yeah,
we need a guest." I'll be like, "Okay, Richard."
Yeah.
Suddenly,
dig me out of a hole that I've got the show into once again.
Top post on Reddit. Kubz retires from First Blood. It's now number.
Hey, let's hope that happens. It's better than some of the other Reddit posts that have happened about you. So we're changing it. We're winning the PR battle. But anyway, and also as well, massive thanks to the guest. As I said, Cody, it's great to get you on. I've been wanting to get you involved in something like this for a long time, or do an interview or whatever. Definitely wishing all the best to Coast. Are there any shout outs? Do you need give props to any sponsors or family members that have stayed up to watch or anything like that?
I guess, Coast is still sponsored by CyberPower, so thanks CyberPower for all the great PCs. Shout out to all the fans out there that have still continued to support Coast, continue to support me, and again, I'll just do a little shout out. Make another website coming up. Should be out in a couple weeks, and hopefully you can start banging out some more content. And I can make some content you'll like there, Richard.
Yeah, well, look, dude, I always loved it. Just do some videos about how shit solo queue is, and I'm sold. I'm straight.
I'm good at that. I'm gonna play all day. I'll lose like 4 games straight and just throw shit around and just go off. That'll be good.
It's that and film you and Saint having a reunion. Where you kiss at the end.
If you do run at each other and just hug it out.
Yeah, just hug it out like one of those. Have you ever seen that American show like Intervention?
Oh yeah.
It's just like we'll hold an intervention for Saint, and you can be the first guy there reading the letter. Saint, you really hurt my feelings, but I still care about you, and like we'll hug it out at the end, and it'll be awesome. It'll be awesome.
And then
just try not to tear up. Just,
yeah.
Saint's sitting there, but it's like, but man, I miss Smite.
When did Saint last miss Smite, baby?
Against Kez.
Yeah,
like
against
it's saying. Like
yeah.
it's the two worst Smiters going up against each other, and Saint lost.
My last remark, Broken.
So
get your team under control and make sure you punish them.
Yeah, dude. This
like
is I thought H2K were disciplined.
My God, no! Don't go there.
Give him the balls of poop, Ram.
The balls of poop.
So,
man.
Anyway, look, thanks to all of you guys. I just want to say a little thing as well right at the end, which is I nearly didn't do the show tonight because it's been like a rough fucking 48 hours for me. I had just a deluge of abuse, which I probably didn't react to in the best way, as I'm prone to not doing. I've been a bit salty lately. I kind of had some shit go on. My best friend committed suicide recently. I've been like really fucking angry and not handling my shit as well as I should for a man of my age and stuff. So it was nice to come on and do the show, even though I initially felt like I didn't want to do it. And I just want to say thanks to the guys that actually kind of, make it worthwhile, which is my admin team, like Warhood, Nitrous, Ajido, and Shuggy. Again, you guys really, do all the hard work so I can come on and just do this. And, of course, Sam, the producer. So, apologies if I've seemed a bit more vicious on Reddit than I usually am. No excuses, though. So, so thanks, everyone, for tuning in and watching. And I really appreciate it. So, great. Look, it was a great show. I'm looking forward to number 10 next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday, same time, 11 o'clock in Europe and 10 o'clock GMT. And we'll see you all then. Thanks a lot for watching.